Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
There we are, the three amigos. Welcome in, everybody. Sports Take, JAKIB Media YouTube Network. I'm Rob Ellis, along with my compadres, Barrett Brooks, Derek Gunn. What's happening, fellas? How we doing?
What's going on, guys?
I cannot believe we are on the show. This is the fourth day.
Hey, let us do this 4 days in a row. It's unbelievable.
We haven't been censored or told what to talk about and everything else.
Just keep fooling them, Derek. That's my motto.
I still haven't decided if I'm coming back next week or not. I don't know yet.
Hey, I'm not deciding if I'll be around for the 1 o'clock hour. Who knows?
Right. You know who I'm calling if you don't come back. You know exactly who I'm calling.
Hold on, man. Why you gotta call my wife, man?
Uh-oh.
Why you gotta bring family into this?
Why does it always go there, man?
Exactly. Why can't I just make my own decisions, man?
Oh, no. He can't say anything. Good morning, Mom. Good morning, Mom.
Mama B,
good morning. Good morning, Mama Brooks.
Yes.
Bro, I was in the middle of a contract negotiation. And I call Derek for a little guidance.
Oh, no.
He yells, because he knew I was on his speaker, so he yells, "Don't let him do nothing stupid, Sanji. Don't let him do nothing stupid." I'm like, who does that?
Yes.
Who does that?
With friends like Derek.
Hey, Rob, you spit. Now that you brought up contracts and your wife, I got to tell this story. This is one of the best stories ever. So, the year the Eagles won the Super Bowl, we got stuck driving a big SUV from Philly to Minneapolis. Me, Barrett, and a guy named Aaron Telaznik, who's a great producer, right? So prior to us leaving, Barrett was involved in some contract negotiations. So his wife pulls up to the curb one day and says,
"We're about to leave."
We're about to leave. And she said, "D-Gun, can you help Barrett get more money? Because right now he's only making lunch money." I said, "What?"
Is that what she said? Lunch money?
She said he barely has enough to pay his cell phone bill.
I was like, wow.
Okay.
Like,
and did he help me? Did he help me?
No.
Yes, of course I helped
you.
He did.
He did.
Yes,
I can't lie.
He talks a big game. He talks a big game, but in the end, Derek's always going to be there. He's a foxhole guy.
Right. So you know what? My wife says this all the time. She goes, "You know what? You're always, trying like you're the big bad wolf, but you're the softest person we know." These kids know how soft you're. I tell you, it hurt me to my heart one day, and this was a few years ago. We were just having a family discussion, and my son, who's the youngest, he said, "Dad, no disrespect, but when we were little, we were always more afraid of Mom than you." I'm like, "What?"
Of course.
I thought I was the ogre of the family. Mm-hmm. Come to find out, my wife would take off her flip-flop like a boomerang.
Oh, yeah. Like a ninja.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's when I was a kid, if I wanted to stay home from school, I would go to my dad in 2 seconds ahead of my mom. My mom would be like, "All right, what's wrong? Yeah. What specifically is wrong with you? What do you mean you have a stomach ache? What do you mean? Like what?" And my dad'd be like, "Oh, you don't feel good? All right, I'll call you out. Go back to bed." Like it was not even close who you went to in that situation.
Exactly.
Moms are always tougher than dads.
Bro, I told you my mom had a ninja sword looking for me in a bathrobe. So they didn't play, bro. My moms did not play. My pops, it'd take too much. It'd be too much for him to get up and stop doing what he's doing to come over and talk to me or saying do something to me. So I wasn't worried about it.
Well, I'm like Derek, I'm like you, man. When it comes to my daughter and my dog, I'm a total sucker. Like I am a total sucker. They just got me wrapped around their finger and paw, if you will.
But look at this though. I didn't play around with my parents, especially my pops, because my pops, he's like 6'3", 6'4", and his back was bigger than my back.
Really?
Like I see people talking back to their pops when they're grown.
No.
Yeah.
My pops, when he passed away, I was still very respectful of him because he still looked like he can come and rip the arms off of somebody, bro. You know what I'm saying?
My dad was only 5'10", 5'11", but he had arms like this, man. My dad was built, right? And when he hit you, he always wore these thick leather belts.
Ooh.
And when he hit you, it felt like thunder was coming down from Olympus. Now, I didn't get many spankings in my life. My brother and I, we didn't get many spankings in our life. But you remember the ones you got. The worst one I ever got was because I was a class clown. I admit it. I was a class clown. And my mom, who was a teacher in the public school system in Milwaukee, decided when I was entering the 3rd grade, she didn't like the public school system. So she decided to put me in a Catholic school. Okay. And, I didn't know much about nuns and all this stuff. Let me tell you, today, I sit here today and I will tell you honestly, when I see nuns, the hair on the back of my neck stands up because this is the meanest little ladies I ever met in my life.
12 years, Gunner. 12 years of Catholic school.
What?
Right here, man.
12 years?
See, the thing was, too, every time we'd have a parent-teacher conference where the nuns would tell on me, it was like they were embellishing the story. And by the time my mother got home and told my dad, the story was embellished twofold. So I knew I was getting it worse.
Well, and here's the difference. When you and I were kids, they blamed us. They weren't blaming the teacher or anybody else. It was us, man. It's different now.
Oh, my goodness. My parents would tell you, I better not ever get a bad report that you're disrespectful to teachers.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because that reflects on them.
Yes.
That reflects on them how you behave outside of the house.
Yes, but nowadays, these kids, bro, I mean, you see videos all the time. Kids cursing out teachers, swinging at teachers. If I did that, I promise you, my generation, we would not be sitting here today talking. No. We would be nothing more than a myth. I promise you. These kids nowadays, the kids tell the teacher, if you hit me, I'll sue you. What?
No discipline. Yep.
Oh my goodness. No.
Bro, one time I actually overheard my mom and pop saying, well, hey, that teacher, she better not put it. Because back then teachers could spank kids. They used to have this wooden paddle.
Yes.
And they had a wooden paddle. And if you messed up, you got the wooden paddle. Well, one time I heard, he better not touch my son. I heard him talking. I went to school that next day. I was short out. Told the teacher, I'm gonna call you, man, I ain't doing nothing. Bruh. There was a phone in the office. She called my dad from a phone in the office. So my school was in between. There was a leather shop like a mile up the road that way. And my school was a mile down the way, the other way. I cut up around about 12:30, 1 o'clock. I was out of school at 3:30. All of a sudden I see around 2:30, I look outside and he's walking by the door. I think he's going to the school, but he's not going to the school. He kept going by. I'm like, why didn't he come to the school? I just got to cutting up. I know I'm in trouble. Yeah. He didn't even come in. I see him walking by 30 minutes later, walking by with a belt that he got from crap. He got it from the leather store. I mean, I'm talking about rawhide belt. You know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. Ask my mom, a raw. It didn't even have this, stained or nothing. I remember it plain as day, bro. Plain as day. And he walked right on by. And I just knew what it was because he walked by like this.
Oh, you knew it was coming. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
See, the thing is, too, nowadays, man, parents let technology babysit their kids.
Right.
And I understand, more so than ever, parents, you have a, 2-parent working home out of necessity because inflation and the way stuff costs nowadays. I get it. But you know what? At some point, you have to take responsibility. Interact with the kids when you come home. Don't just let them play video games and sit in front of a TV all day, man. Interact with the kids.
Bro, teach your kids how to cook. These kids don't even know how to cook, don't know how to clean. My mom always told me I could cook, clean, and sew better than any woman. I'll take care of it. And then what her motto was, and my pop's motto was, I'm going to raise you. I'm not going to let the police raise you. I'm going to raise you.
Yeah.
Amen.
And that's exactly what they meant, too.
My kids are all in their 30s. And even today, when we go out to eat in a restaurant, when a waiter or waitress will ask them, would you like this? And my kids will always respond, yes, please. No, thank you, please. Yes. And a lot of times waiters and waitresses are like, and it's funny to me because it's natural in my house, but they're like, wow, I'm not used to people saying please and thank you.
Yes,
but
sir. You know what? Sir.
You're trained that way from a child. And I'm looking at my kids training their kids now. It's the same thing.
Nice.
Hey, so-and-so's talking to you. Look at them. Hey, say thank you. You know what? If you don't say thank you, I'm taking it from you. So I've got grandkids, 7, 3. They say, yes, please. Thank you, please. That's condition. A lot of these kids are, no.
Yeah. And they're not, and they're like this. They're like this, right? With the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll take a hamburger.
Huh?
Yeah.
I mean, the kids say, I said, tell the kids something, huh?
Yeah.
Huh?
There's no huh.
My mom taught 6th grade, and she had this long
A's for
flat,
horses.
yeah,
Right.
my mom had this long flat wooden stick in her classroom. And when a kid stepped out of line, she would call him to the front of the class. She would bend her hand backward like this and smack him in the hand 2 times. When I was in Catholic school, if you stepped out of line, the nuns would call you up to the front of the room, like one of those paddles you were talking about, and crank up like they Babe Ruth and swat you in front of them. You think I'm kidding? They would swat you in front of the class.
Yes.
You didn't want to get embarrassed in front of your classmates because you got joked on when it came to recess and lunchtime.
Oh, you were going to get it. You were going to hear it from your buddies.
And,
no doubt.
Don't let your parents find out you got swatted by a teacher, because whether you were right or wrong, you're getting it again when you get home.
Amen.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
the double dip. The double dip as if it wasn't enough in school.
The biggest mistake I ever made in my life was one day, I was 11, 12, about 8 or 9 years old, and my mom said, go outside and get a switch. For people who don't know what that switch is when you go out to a tree and you got to pull a little skinny limb off the tree and you got to strip it yourself of the leaves and stuff. So I got smart one day. I said, I thought it was being funny, because normally my mom gets one about at least a foot long, 1.5 foot long. I went out and got one about this big. Right? What did I want to do that for?
You're making it worse on yourself. Yeah.
Hey, Rob, here's the worst part. I don't know how, but we always knew when somebody in my neighborhood was getting a spanking, all the other guys would be standing outside the window, under the window, listening to him. And when you come outside, they would imitate what you do. Oh, mama, please don't hit me. And you'll be the joke. You'll be the joke of the day in your neighborhood, man.
Yeah,
but
man.
That was life, man. That was life, man. Like I said, I didn't get much. Well, put it like this, I wasn't one of those guys that that was disobedient. You know what I'm saying? Because my mom always told me a disobedient child's days would be numbered.
Right.
So I was never, but I would find new stuff to do. Yeah. I'm gonna find something else to do to get in trouble for. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. These kids these days, they just don't do anything. You know what I'm saying? I don't play, man.
Different world, that's for sure. All right, well, listen, we had a lot of ground to cover today, man. We're coming off a Sixers unbelievable win, which we're gonna get to in a second.
I'm surprised you guys didn't text me like the second half or maybe the third quarter. Saying, "Oh, B, we told you so." I'm surprised you guys didn't tell me because you guys.
Yeah, it felt like a tight one to me going in. I'm not surprised. I'm for sure. I thought this was going to be one of those games that came down to the wire. I didn't expect Embiid to hit a ridiculous 3 in overtime. We had that, and before the game, the news comes down that Jay Wright's retiring. Like, whoa! I mean, that came out of nowhere. So you got those two things going. We got the NFL draft. We got the Phillies finally winning a freaking game. It's a miracle. So I don't know what Barrett's up to over there. What are we doing,
bro? This is what I'm up to.
What is going on here?
What are you doing over there, man?
Her mom's about to leave. Her mom's about to leave, so she brings it to me. Okay. Now I got to watch her. She don't play that, man. She usually goes everywhere with her. Yeah.
Is that Killer?
Yes, this is Yoki.
That's your guard dog? All right, good.
Yoki.
Good. In case anybody's trying to get at Barrett, he's got protection. So not only that, man, we're now a week away from the draft. And we'll all 3 of us will be doing a show down there from Ocean Resort. And Gunnar and I will be doing a full-blown draft show throughout the first round, which Barrett will be checking in on. Seth Joyner, Mike Quick's going to be joining us as well. Today, 12:30, Mike Sealski. 2 o'clock, Keith Pompey will be joining us from Toronto. The scene of last night. So let's get into it, guys, because the first half was hideous. It looked like this was going to be the game that Toronto gets. The Sixers were out of sorts, turning the ball over left and right, 14 turnovers in the first half, and B doing nothing. He had 5 points in the first half. To their credit, you noticed in the second quarter, they kind of got their bearings a little bit, hung in there. Unfortunately, late, Toronto ripped off 6 in a row. Danny Green lost his mind, and it's a 10-point game at the half. But you still felt, all right, considering how bad things were, they're going to be okay here. But what a wild finish to this thing.
A wild finish. They just couldn't get right the first, in fact, the entire game. They didn't lead the entire game until the last shot of the game. That just goes to show, man, this team, the mere fact they came back like that, they're learning how to win, man. And that's what some people don't understand. That's an art that, that you learn, you mold yourself to think like it, because a lot of times when you enter a situation like that, you don't know how to finish the deal. And a lot of teams have to learn how to finish the deal. Well, this is the first time the Sixers really finished the deal. You know what I'm saying? They've been up and lost games, but this is a close game. They took everything that the Raptors had, took everything they had, and they still lost the game. So, I mean, I love it, man. I love
Well,
it.
I'll tell you what blows me away, Gunner. This is the kind of game where in years past, if Embiid starts off that way, he probably kind of checks out, and you don't see him just sort of gut it out and do what he ends up doing. But this is a different Joel Embiid, a much different Joel Embiid.
This man is unstoppable, and that's today's NBA. You got 7-footers shooting threes. He can bring it up the court. He can post you low. He can drain it from the top of the key. And you know what? I don't want to hear any Doc River bashing, at least for today. At least for today. Because when you think about the play that preceded the game-winning shot,
right?
People are going, what the heck play did Doc Rivers call? Because Embiid had the ball almost near the top of the court and just heaved it up before the shot clock expired. And you're thinking, Toronto's got this chance now to put the game away. Lo and behold, Doc had called a timeout with 0.9 seconds left?
0.9 on the shot clock. Yeah.
On the shot clock?
Yeah.
And so you're thinking, okay, I can't wait to see what he sets up. Who would have thought he would have called a play for a 7-footer to take the shot from the wing to win the game? But that's Joel Embiid. You know what? He can do it all. You double on him, he's going to turn around and put it up in your face, or he's going to find the open man. Mm-hmm. You triple him, somebody else is open. And the Sixers keep knocking down the threes. Now, I thought they might have pulled away a little bit more had Harden not fouled out of the game. I thought when Harden fouled out, I'm like, okay, this is Toronto's prime opportunity to seal the deal. And Toronto couldn't put him away. But that's perseverance at its finest. And like Barrett said, before you win, you got to learn how to win. This is the perfect scenario. This is going to be so beneficial to this team going to that next series, because now, to me, the series is over. Even if Toronto wins one game, the Sixers will come home and smoke them and end this thing. Put them in their coffin to end their season. What an incredible flow of emotion and energy and perseverance from the 76ers team last night.
It really was. I mean, you think about the way that the game started for Embiid, right? So I mentioned 5 points, 2 of 5 in the first half. He goes for 18 in the third, he's doing it with, I don't know what's going on with the wrist, but it's clearly something's happening there. There seems to be always something, but whatever. He's fighting through this stuff that he didn't before. Yep. They turned it over 24 times, Derek, which led to 27 points. And they're down 17 in the first, and they still win on Toronto's floor. I mean, how demoralizing is that for the Raptors?
That's the
and
big
they
thing
shortened
right
the
there.
bench. They shortened the bench. 4 of the 5 starters played 44 minutes or more. And I talked about that yesterday. If they're going to play their starters the bulk of the game, eventually fatigue is going to catch up to them somewhere. And I'm thinking, okay, they closed the gap. They kept closing the gap. But at some point, when you start seeing guys with their hands on their knees and stuff, you see it in football a lot, you're starting to wear them down. And I'm thinking, do the 76ers have enough stamina to pull this thing off?
We got to call out Terry Foy, who fell asleep in the third quarter. That's a total violation.
What?
How do you fall asleep in the third quarter of that game?
I'm telling you.
But you know why you fell asleep? Because you look at, the Sixers were getting beat. I mean, you talked about it. You both of you guys talked about it yesterday, and the previous deal, probably on Monday too, where you said at this point Toronto was not hitting their threes. That's a good 3-pointer.
Right.
They weren't hitting their
again
last night. They were hitting their threes.
Yeah, Vliet was hot. I mean, there were a couple guys that were really hot last night, and I like I said, I thought last night was going to be really tight. But
you know what else is a violation though?
Yeah,
read that last comment right there. Is that a violation of what, bro?
What?
Oh, your brother's checking in.
Come on, man. That's a serious violation.
He hates the Steelers.
That's a violation, man.
Come on, man. Come on, Philip.
Wow,
you're better than that.
Hey, look at the comment though above Phillips. Look at the comment above Phillips. Name brand says Embiid is a shooting shack. I like that.
Yeah.
Embiid is a shooting shack.
You touched on it though. Let's give some props here. I've been as critical as anybody about Doc, okay, and the job that he's done.
I'm still critical of him.
Yeah, look, and I'm not telling you that he erases everything, but he's had a really good series. The timeout last night, switching it up to a zone last night to try.
That was huge.
Huge, right? And he's pushing buttons in games where I haven't seen that with him as a Sixers coach, where he's made adjustments made to it. Look, the timeout was just a really heads up thing that a coach does, because that set was going nowhere. Just like the one at the end of regulation was going nowhere. That was brutal. I don't know what was going on there. But to their credit, and the play that he draws up out of the timeout to get a clean look. I mean, an awful job by Nick Nurse not having somebody on the ball guarding. I mean, Rick Pitino made that mistake in 1992 for Christian Laettner when he hit the shot. So, but for Embiid to hit that shot and shut up that crowd, I mean, that crowd saying bleep Embiid the whole game.
I know.
And he just stuck it right to them. It was beautiful, man.
And here's the thing. Did you see any national news about the Toronto fan base yelling the F-bomb during a national telecast? Had that been Philadelphia, that would have been national headlines. Philadelphia fans once again show their true colors and all this stuff. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't seen it anywhere on Twitter or anywhere else about about Toronto fans.
But you hear Kyrie talking about Kyrie. You hear me? Come on, man. And just the mere fact that we're saying that it's still a race for the MVP, that shouldn't have been a race. No. What he's done this entire season have garnered him to be an MVP. Right. You know what I'm saying? Talking about a guy that took this team on his back the entire season.
You know what?
And hasn't stopped.
Barry, here's what happens. And this is part of the issue with we've taken analytics to a level now where it's just completely out of control. Like, it's a useful tool when you're putting everything together, right? Mm-hmm. But when it comes, the people who back Jokic over Embiid are throwing stuff at you like Vorp and Warp. I'm like, what does that even mean? What are you trying to tell me? Just sit down with your eyeballs and watch these two guys play. And you're telling me that guy's better than this guy? First of all, you're not watching the defensive end where Embiid is superior.
Huge.
To Jokic, okay?
Yep.
That's what drives me nuts about this whole discussion. And I'm just glad you're seeing him put it on full display here, everything he brings to the table now.
Well, although they said that MVP voting has already been done, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just saying this. Anybody who had any doubt, which they shouldn't have to begin with, is just seeing who the more superior player is, and it's Embiid, and it's not even close.
It's not even close, man. I mean, all right, he's the scoring champion.
Jokic is talented, but come on, man.
But he's top five. He's top five as far as defensive players in the league.
Mm-hmm.
He's unstoppable. When he doesn't want to be stopped, you can't stop him.
Right.
He handles the ball, brings it up the court. I mean, he does everything. He put the entire team on his back. I think that towards the end, Harden kind of hurt him more than anything. Harden hurt him in the aspect that the expectation went up when Harden got on the team. They expected more winning, but they lost more when Harden got there, as opposed to them turning up another level.
Yeah,
that'll be the only way that it's even close with Jokic, because they kind of judged him because of Harden's presence being on the team. Because then that way they could say, all right, see how many players that they don't have on their team, and Jokic is still taking Murray's
true.
not there, all that.
But he played 3/4 of the year without Simmons.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. Is that taken into account? I mean, if it isn't, it should be.
Exactly.
Yeah, it should be his year. Who knows how this stuff, comes down? Who knows who's got an agenda against certain guys?
I just think decision makers have a vendetta against Philadelphia for whatever reason. I don't know why. I don't know what it is.
Is it date back to that? Maybe.
I don't know what it is.
Maybe.
But if Embiid does not win MVP this year, there should never be MVP voting again.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
It is, and we're going to talk to Keith Pompey at 2:00, as we talked about. In either one of your estimation, does Toronto get one here, or is this thing over on Saturday afternoon?
I think that they gave the past two games, Toronto has given them all they had.
Closer and closer, yeah.
They've spent. They're spent now. They don't have anything left. They can't go into their bag of tricks and get anything else. The only bag of tricks they had was they were going home to play. You know what I'm saying? They were going home to play. They have nothing else to give. Yeah. Now it's just this is going to be a learning curve for the Sixers in the aspect that, all right, they've got to learn to finish now a team. Put their foot on their head, and let's go rest our guys for the next opponent that's coming up.
And that's huge. If you can get by Embiid and Harden a couple extra days here, would be monstrous for sure. Yeah. Look, I think Toronto, it's going to be a pride thing for them on Saturday, which means I don't think they're going to lay down. But in the end, and I've been saying this the whole series, the reason why Nick Nurse has gone this route is because he's desperate. And he knows he's outmanned, and he still knows it. I mean, think about it. You had everything in your favor. The Sixers were giving them the ball in the first half.
Yep.
And
Harden was horrible.
And they all were. Embiid, what do you have, 5 turnovers, whatever. I mean, they were all terrible in that really in the first quarter, but in the first half in general. And you still can't beat the Sixers on your floor with with Drake and all the rest of those Toronto lunatics. You still win. I love that Embiid gave him a little bit too at the end. Did you see that?
Yeah, walking off. Oh yeah.
And Embiid can't help himself, man. He's either,
But,
he's getting into a nurse or he's getting into it with Drake.
What did he say? I'm going for the sweep. Is that
Yeah.
I'm going for
Drake,
the sweep.
Drake says, "I'll be here." Okay.
I'll be here.
But that's your comeback. Okay, you'll be here.
bro. But say, all right, you got Drake, but we got we got more of a following in Philly than anybody else. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants to come here. I mean, everybody came in last year's series with the Hawks. All the Atlanta people came up. Now, Philly has the best. Nobody's gonna beat Meek in his.
Hey, Floyd Mayweather was at courtside. I didn't even know that.
Right,
Floyd Mayweather was in town.
See, that's what I'm saying, man. So we gonna be all right. But one thing that I can't stop. I can't stop thinking this is something that that it's a culmination of us getting on him and him not responding until the playoffs and not the regular season. It's Harris.
Yeah, he's been really good.
Harris, this playoffs, Harris has been not good, but masterful.
Mm-hmm.
He has stepped up supremely.
He's been that. If you want to say, I'm going to say, if you want to go Embiid, Harden, Maxey, he's been that fourth banana that you need.
Yes.
Right? He's been that guy. And even though last night he didn't have monster numbers, he played a really good game. And I know people are going to get on him because he didn't hit that putback.
Baseline shot.
He got fouled, by the way, but whatever.
Yeah.
He's been really good for them. Clutch, big tough rebounds too. Like he's done a lot of things very well in this series.
It doesn't always have to be scoring production.
Yeah.
But his defensive pressure, man.
He's played real good defense. You're right.
I mean, that's the big thing right there. I mean, Pascal Siakam, he's gonna get his.
Mm-hmm.
But they held him to 12 points this last game.
Yeah, and making him work too. I mean, he is working hard on that end. So yeah, I agree, man. He's been good. You've gotten just enough. Like the bench is thin. I mean, it's especially thin without Thibault, but you gotten just enough. Niang hit a couple threes for you. Look, it was ugly basketball for them. Let's be real. But you got to win ugly sometimes, and that's why you need the elite. And that's what Embiid is. He can carry you in moments. You didn't see it last night. I'm sure people were locked in on the Sixers, but Durant and Kyrie were terrible in that Celtics game. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But Embiid fought through what was an ugly first half to deliver, man, on the biggest stage for sure. All right, so while that's happening, so we get the Sixers game, and a little bit before the Sixers game, word comes down, Shams Charania from The Athletic breaks that Jay Wright heavily considering retiring by the within an hour or hour two, maybe. It became official. And not only did Jay retire, they hired a new coach. I mean, that thing moved really, really fast last night. So when we come back, we're going to talk to Mike Sealski from The Inquirer about Jay Wright, his legacy. Is he
Bye-bye, Doc.
Yeah, well,
Bye-bye, Doc.
It's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be interesting. Yeah.
Hey, Barrett.
Yes, sir.
Did you see the text we all got from Xander? A gift for Barrett has arrived.
Oh, no.
Did you see this text?
No, I didn't. Let me see this.
It just goes to show you if you whine long enough, you get what you want.
Oh, Xander, we need a picture of that, man. We got to put that up.
I know all of this is not for Barrett.
The squeaky wheel gets the most oil, bro.
Are you serious?
Oh, here we go.
There's no way all of this is for Barrett. No way.
Hold on. See, this is what I'm talking about right now. And I got to take it from you. Then I got my brother trying to give it to me on the stream.
All right, and, Xander, there it is. So this is what Barrett's going to be getting. How many cases is that?
No way.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 cases? 7, 8 cases?
Man. Hey, man, you better go to rehab, bro. You better
bro, all I'm going to say is I love the commercial because right at the end, but you guys cut it too short. That commercial is too short.
Well, we're about to see it.
Because like you said, holy.
Yes. All right, so let's do this. Let's let Barrett bask in what Krause just bought him. All right, and we come back. We're going to talk to Mike Sealski from the Philadelphia Inquirer. Mike does an unbelievable job. I mean, you name it, okay? And he wrote very poetically about Jay. We'll talk about that, among others. We'll get into the Sixers with Mike as well. He's Derek Gunn. He's Barrett Brooks. I think he's throwing down right now, as a matter of fact, some stateside as we speak. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Media YouTube Network. I want to tell everybody about my friends at Pro Action Restoration. If your home or your business or any kind of property that you own experiences the pain and inconvenience of water, fire, or smoke, or even mold damage to your property, you know how trying that can be. Pro Action's got you covered. They're on call 24/7. You have an issue in the middle of the night, they'll be there, okay? 7 days a week, Doesn't matter what the situation is, holidays, etc. They are there for you. They were there for me. They were there for my parents when they had some water damage in their basement. And I got to tell you, man, it was the peace of mind that they bring to you is bigger than anything else. I got to tell you, they're experiencing water damage. You name it. They're licensed, bonded, fully insured. They serve the tri-state area, and they've been doing it for more than 2 decades. ProAction will work, by the way, and this is huge, in conjunction with your insurance company, whether it's water, fire, smoke, mold remediation, you name it, they can handle it. Give them a call, 610-623-3760. That's 610-623-3760. Or just email them and you go online. It's easy. ProActionRestoration.com. That's ProActionRestoration.com.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
All right, did you know I was the mommy slam dunk champion?
Really?
Yes, really, don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, I go to left. Fake them out. Mama, go up, mama!
She did it.
Again?
You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, baby. Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome on back. Sports Take, JAKIB YouTube Network. Smash that like button. We appreciate everybody. All our comments. Hey, let me throw this out there, by the way, guys. We got Derek Gunn, Barrett Brooks. I'm Rob Ellis, Mike Sealski in 1 second here. So coming up a little bit later in the show, we're going to be, and I'm going to utilize this every day, guys. So everybody who's watching and all the folks who are commenting, love it. Keep it rolling, man. But you fire off some good questions for us regarding the Eagles and the draft a little bit later. We will use them and we will answer your questions. So we encourage good questions. The good ones will make the cut and we will utilize them. All right. So we mentioned yesterday, guys, the big news in addition to the Sixers winning was Jay Wright retiring. And joining us now, I love talking to Mike about any number of subjects, whether it's college hoops, whether it's the NBA, NFL, his favorite sport, baseball, you name it across the board. We talk. On Twitter at Mike Sealski does an amazing job for the Philadelphia Inquirer as the columnist, the one and only. There he is. What's happening, Mike?
Gentlemen, Rob, how are you?
Good, Mike.
He's definitely not a gentleman. Rob is not.
You two are gentlemen.
We're the gentleman. He's not the gentleman. That's why I said Rob.
Thanks for pointing that out, Barrett.
The one thing I love about Mike is, man, he slides those zingers in so smoothly. Man. He's smooth as silk.
You know what it is, Gunner? I don't want you to know that the knife has entered your belly until you look down and see the puddle of blood at your feet.
Yeah.
And all your insides are hanging out.
And I'm
That's
done.
right, man.
That's it. Mike, first off, great job on your piece on Jay.
Thanks.
And I know how closely, the Big Five, how near and dear it is to your heart, the Big Five. And Villanova's done laps around every other school. We know that. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But let me pose this one. Let me come out of the chute swinging here. Greatest Philadelphia coach in history.
Ooh.
Jay Wright.
He's close, Rob. I actually wrote a column about this a few years ago, right after Villanova had won its second national championship under him. And I had him in the top 5 then. And the fact that they got back to another Final Four and then he's been inducted into the Hall of Fame since then, I think only raises him on those rankings. I mean, Connie Mack, if you really want to go back a long way, because he was so integral to what the Athletics did when they were a dynasty. But other than that, man, it's hard to think of anybody else who would surpass Jay. I think there's a lot to what you're saying.
Yeah, and when you ask that, it sounds hot takey and blasphemous. But if you really dig into it, I mean, the sustained success, Mike, over a 2-decade plus period. I mean, 21 years he's at Villanova. He wins it twice. He gets the 4 Final Fours. The COVID year you take out because there wasn't even a tournament. We don't even really talk about that much. I think he's missed 1 NCAA tournament going back to 16 years, something like that. It's unbelievable. And to do it at a small school like that, not some gigantic state school.
It is remarkable. And you think back too, and I mentioned this in the story you were talking about today, like it was in the realm of possibility after his 3rd year that if Villanova didn't turn things around in his 4th year, that he was going to get fired. The boosters and the alumni were out for him. And that was 2004, 2005. That was the year Nova really took off under Jay. They had Alan Ray and Randy Foye, and they went 24-8, made the Sweet 16. Think about this too. Nova won the Big East regular season championship 8 times under Jay and won the conference tournament 5 times, including this year. I mean, and I mean, that's not the Atlantic 10. That's not the CAA. That's the Big East. Even in its more recent iteration, it's still a great basketball conference. So to do what he did, sometimes I think in Philadelphia, we kind of need to take a step back and understand and appreciate where somebody like Jay fits into the national scope of things. Like, you're right. Villanova dominates the Big Five, but they're right there with Duke and have been for the last 5 to 10 years as good as any program in college basketball.
What do we call it? Blue something? Blue
blood.
Blue blood.
Blue blood. Well, I mean, he has to be put in that type of, in that type of realm as far as, highly, prized basketball schools. And the mere fact, like you said, being able to recruit athletes that not necessarily the top athletes, that Kentucky gets, that Duke gets, North Carolina gets. He gets guys that are basically Villanova type of guys, not the one and done so much. You know what I'm saying? Just a testament to how he coaches.
Yeah, and Barrett, you've put your finger on what I think, and I'm actually writing a column about this right now, what I think is one of the big reasons that he did step away. I've been spent the last 24 hours talking to people, reaching out to people close to the program and close to Jay. And they all say a couple of things. Number one, he was 60. He wanted to leave on top. He had talked for a while about wanting to get out at a relatively young age. We don't think of Jay as being 60 because of his looks and his vibrancy and all those things. But he wanted to get out while he was on top. He was getting kind of tired of the gig. And part of being tired of the gig was having to deal with the new landscape of college sports, the transfer portal and the NIL changes. And one of the things he said during the NCAA tournament was that it would probably take schools about 3 years to really figure out how to negotiate this new landscape where players can make money or they can transfer. And to your point, Barrett, like Villanova players come in, Jay is really tough on them when they're young. They got to kind of survive the first year or two, and then their game takes off. And then they become these guys who stay 3 or 4 years and play their way into the NBA or into a pro career. And I got to think Jay at some level was looking at this new landscape and saying, you know, it's going to be harder for me to keep these guys around because of the way I coach. You know, we see him as gregarious, lovable Jay. He is tough on his players. There's a reason his practices are closed every regular season. And so if those guys can walk away and say, you know what, I'm not going to put up with this. I'm going to go somewhere else and play right away. It was going to be harder for him to maintain that level of excellence. And then if it's going to take 3 years to figure it out, now you're looking at him being 63, 64 years old, and he's missed that window for when he wanted to get out.
So Mike, then let me ask you this, now that you brought up the age factor, do you think there's a slight possibility Jay could deliberately take a step back, breathe, enjoy his family, and then start looking at potential NBA offers? Because that's been swirling about Jay for a long time. Would he make the transition to the next level? He's deflected it well over the last few years, but now that he's officially stepping away from college, do you think he might entertain some of these potential offers in the future?
I would be really surprised, Gunnar. In fact, I'd be shocked. I think Jay, one of the things that Jay always said was that he felt like he had the best job in college basketball at Villanova because it brought all the spoils of being at a big-time program without the scrutiny and the pressure that Mike Krzyzewski or Roy Williams or Bill Self or John Calipari faced in their markets. The temptation that came up for him with the NBA, generally speaking, came from only a couple different places, like the Sixers or maybe the Lakers or the Knicks. Well, guess what? Like he's smart enough to know he's not going to go work for James Dolan in New York. If somebody else owned that franchise, maybe. Jay knows working for Dolan is a dead-end street. Look at the Lakers and the disarray that they're in right now. I don't think he and his family are going to want to go to anywhere else at this stages of their lives. Are they going to go to Oklahoma City or Memphis or any of these other places where there are NBA franchises? I would be really, really surprised if that happened. In fact, I would say it's like next to nil that that's going to happen.
Yeah, Mike, to your point, I think what really cemented that part of it is coaching Team USA, being one of the assistants. As much as he enjoyed it, and what an honor that is to be able to do that, you also get around these guys up close and personal, and you realize, I don't have the same power that I have in college, man. Like, you know, you don't do what I need you to do. Yeah, you're sitting on the bench. These guys do what they want because they're making more money than you are, because ultimately they're running the show. And I don't think that jives well with the way Jay does things.
I still remember during Villanova's 2016 championship run, I asked Josh Hart who at the time was still on Villanova about this. And he said exactly basically exactly what you said, Rob. Like, there's a difference between telling me, Josh Hart, as a junior or senior at Villanova, to hit the floor after a loose ball and telling Kobe Bryant to do it. And that difference is pretty stark. And I think you're right. I think Jay got, similar to what, Krzyzewski dealt with as the head coach of the Olympic team. He got his taste of dealing with the best players on the planet. And that probably scratched that itch for him. And he doesn't need to run the show and prove himself anymore. He can walk away knowing he's a Hall of Famer already and one of the greatest college coaches of all time.
Well, Mike, let me ask you. So obviously the winning has to come with this part of it. You can be the nicest guy in the world and it doesn't matter if you go 2-30, but the preface is that the premise is Jay won, but it's the way he went about things. I think that puts him at a different level too. The way he carried himself. Look, there was a lot that went on when Roley was here, and there was a lot of elitist kind of stuff. There was a lot of who cares about Philadelphia stuff that went on. Jay being from here was just such a natural advantage, and he got Philadelphia and just the way he treated people. Can you just expand on that a little bit?
Sure. I mean, look, if Jay had any other kind of personality, he would have been a villain in this town, because let's face it, he and Villanova burned the Big Five to the ground. It doesn't really exist anymore because Villanova is so dominant compared to the other four schools in the city. And again, Villanova's not in the city. That's okay. The university isn't a Philadelphia university, but that basketball
most
program,
stupid parochial provincial argument there's ever been in Philadelphia
basketball program.
Nonsense.
Yes.
Give me a freaking break. Anyway.
And Jay appreciated that history and talked about it and really loved it and lived it, so that even though he and Villanova was dominating the region, you never felt like there was resentment because of it. And then the other thing, the other component of what you're talking about, and Gunnar can appreciate this as somebody who made his living asking athletes and coaches questions and trying to get insightful answers from them and often getting those kinds of answers. Jay was the all-time best. My old colleague Bob Ford and I have talked about this. The all-time best at understanding who was asking a question of him, what they were really getting at, and then giving you the answer that you wanted or needed or were looking for from him. There's nobody that's ever been better in that regard. Like genuinely insightful, for the most part, would not lie to you, would tell you like, hey, I can't answer that, as opposed to just saying something that was false. So I think for those reasons, to your point, Rob, like he's beloved here in a way that, gosh, it was a real challenge for some of his predecessors to be that beloved at Villanova.
Let me ask you this, man. You know, in just the mere fact that, you know, he's going to have that itch. He's going to be, I mean, not to say he's going to be like, you know, Brady and want to come back, but is he totally away from baseball? I mean, basketball? Is he totally in a position where, all right, I'm just going to separate myself? Or do you see him going and getting a front office job, or, you know, maybe a job where he's going to be a liaison or you know, kind of help a team, you know, maybe an NBA team, you know, because his talent evaluation, you know, is right there. You know, he can get those type of athletes, you know. So, I mean, you think he's totally out of basketball? Where do you think he is going forward?
I think that's a greater possibility, Barrett, than him coming back and coaching again. Now, I say this having been there in New Orleans and being with Jay in the immediate aftermath of that loss to Kansas. And even though he had said he had been contemplating coming back to coaching, or stepping away from coaching, in the aftermath of that loss to Kansas, I thought he's going to be back. Like, of course he's going to be back. This loss crushed him. He talked about, you know, this will fuel the fire for next time, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, to Gunnar's earlier question, I'd be stunned if he got back into coaching, but you have to leave the little sliver of possibility. I think it's much more likely that he becomes either some kind of analyst, college basketball, NBA, or otherwise, and that like a consulting job, like almost like a consigliere to an NBA team, or, you know, Villanova. You know, he's going to be a special assistant to Father Peter Donahue, the president of Villanova now. I think that's more likely. That he stays connected to the game and the sport in that way. You know, would it surprise me to see him on Fox, you know, analyzing games, or on CBS? No, it would not surprise me. Would it surprise me to see him get hired by an NBA team as a front office consultant? It would surprise me a little bit more, but I could see that potentially happening.
So, Mike, how much do you think family influenced his decision?
Huge. I think family influenced a lot, Gunnar. I think Patty, right, his wife, was kind of tiring of the life too. His kids are hitting that age where they're starting to move on in their lives. And, you know, I mean, Jay, like I said earlier, Jay's always kind of known how good he had it. And it was always that balance of how much is he going to test himself, because coaches at that level always want to push and see how great they really are. And how much is he really going to live what he says, which is, hey, I'm where I want to be. I love the Philadelphia area. I love Villanova. I love what I get to do. You know, I've got it great, and I'm not going to mess up a great thing. Right. So, you know, gun to my head, I think he's going to say, you know what? I got time to spend with my family now. I've been worn down the last couple of years, and it's time for me to give to them.
Mike, you got the direct contact with him. Tell him to come fishing with the three of us, man. I'll take him out fishing, okay?
He would. I'll tell you this, Barrett. He'd be the best dressed fisherman in this.
No question. No question. He'd step out on the boat in Gucci shoes, you know, Hugo Boss fishing attire. You know.
Yeah. The guy would wear Uggs fishing boots. It'd be amazing.
Right. That's right. It would be unbelievable. Mike, let's not lose sight too of what an unbelievable tactician this guy was too. I mean, there's the culture, there's what a good guy he is, but the run in 16 was straight dominance. They didn't lose a game by less than 12. I mean, they took in 18. They took everybody apart in that. And we all remember 16 when Chris Jenkins hits the shot, but 18, they just ran through everybody.
That was as dominant a tournament run as there's ever been in the NCAA tournament. And then think back even farther, Rob, to that 04-05 season and the following year when you had, you know, Randy Foye, Alan Ray, Mike Nardi, and Kyle Lowry playing a 4-guard lineup, you know, which was kind of revolutionary at the time. I mean, I can remember that in 2006, they beat Boston College in overtime in the Sweet 16. And Randy Foye, who was 6'4", was playing basically power forward for Villanova, bodying guys, defending guys in the post. And that Boston College team they beat in the Sweet 16 was much bigger and much more of a down low kind of oriented team. But Jay figured out, this is the way I can win with these guys. And that was the starting pistol, so to speak, for the greatness that was to come, and he figured out a little bit later, what kind of kid do I need to look for to recruit? What kind of player am I looking for? The kind of kid who combines terrific talent with a willingness to grow and improve and room to grow and improve, so that take 16, you've got Ryan Archidiakono and Josh Hart and Chris Jenkins, and Daniel Ochefu, guys who have been around for 2-3 years, who are at their peak physically, mentally, maturity-wise, and who are able to make that championship run. And then you get to 18, and my God, that team is the best. I think that's the best college basketball team of the last 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, they're loaded. A lot of guys playing in the pros, that's for sure. So, Mike, any surprise that they go Kyle Neptune? I mean, certainly a lot of guys to choose from who were a part of Jay's staff, et cetera. Kyle left for 1 year, went to Fordham, did a great job in a really tough spot with Fordham. He comes back. He had been an assistant from 08 to 10 and then 13 to 21. Any surprise that it was him? And how much influence do you think Jay had?
Oh, I think Jay had a fair bit of influence. And if you look at Kyle Neptune's resume, no, not a surprise. First of all, anyone who goes 500 at Fordham should be NCAA Coach of the Year, given the recent history of that program. Secondly, Kyle was Jay's top or one of top assistants during that stretch where the Big East kind of reemerged in its new iteration, right? Built around basketball, around these smaller, generally private schools until UConn came back. And that was the rocket ride to dominance that the program saw. So Kyle was there for it. He's 37, so he's younger. He's, in touch with this new landscape of college sports and how all these changes we talked about are going to affect things. Once you get past the initial surprise, of, oh my God, Jay Wright is retiring, you look and you see who the successor is and you say, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Well, speaking of that, if you look at the stream, it says Frank, wasn't it? Gradia?
Yeah, I was looking at that. Yeah.
Do you think Villanova has to worry about anybody transferring out? And do you think any recruits will back out? That's going to be something that Villanova is going to go through this year, maybe next year. How do they go forward? I know it's going to step down a whole lot, but can they survive?
I think they can survive for a couple of years because you've got guys there now who have been inculcated into the program, right? Are all of these guys going to come back? I don't know, but guys like Brandon Slater and Caleb Daniels and hopefully Justin Moore when he recovers, from the torn Achilles, and the kid from Doylestown, and I'm drawing a blank, and
Dixon.
Eric Dixon will be back. He's from Abington. Jordan Beningo. Even if you lose one or two of those guys, you're still going to have a chance for a pretty strong team, and presumably there will be more guys looking to transfer in. But look, this is going to be brand new, and again, I think Jay looked at this landscape and said, I've got this formula, and this new way of doing things jeopardizes that formula to the point that once I figure it out, I'm not sure I'm going to have the energy to keep coaching.
Mike, let me ask you while we have you, because I love to jump around with you a little bit. The Sixers last night, and just a mess in the first half, especially in the first quarter. Turned the ball over a ton. Embiid 5 points in the first half. The game's in Toronto. They're hitting threes. If there's ever a game they're going to take, you would think it'd be that one. But somehow, some way, they come away with a victory. Just give me your impressions of last night and where you think this thing stands. Is it over Saturday?
A, I think it's over. B, I think crowning achievement so far for Joel Embiid, the way he played in that second half in overtime, and then obviously the shot he hits at the end. And the third thing I would say, Rob, and I wrote this the day before, it is, if you are a Sixers fan, it is so nice to be able to watch a team that plays loosely, that plays like it's not afraid of making mistakes, and doesn't have to play 4-on-5 on offense because the point guard acts like the basketball is a hand grenade with the pin pulled. I mean, the difference between having Ben Simmons out there and having Tyrese Maxey and or James Harden is so stark and so obvious that even somebody who's never watched basketball before can see it. And I think, that makes a huge difference. I think it's a reason to think that this team can make a pretty deep run and is going to be a pretty tough out.
Hey, Mike, I want to ask you about the book, man, The Rise, because a very insightful book, and obviously you put a lot of research into this thing. How's the book done?
Congratulations also.
Yeah. And how's the book done so far in terms of sales and responses you've gotten on it?
The response has been great, Gunnar. Thanks for asking. Everybody who has read it, or more importantly, bought it, because I got mouths to feed, has really responded very positively to it. Sales have been very steady. It's one of those things where, it's kind of hard to build a marketing campaign around the anniversary of an icon's death.
Yeah.
So you have to approach that with some trepidation. Of course, I want people to read the book. I'm proud of the work I put into it, but it's hard to say, hey, it's been 2 years since Kobe Bryant died. You should read my book about him. That makes it a little bit challenging. But as I said, the response has generally been very good. I think there's some good news down the pike for the book and a broader project, and I'll just kind of leave it at that for now. But thanks for asking, and everything's been really good with it.
Where can folks get it, Mike?
Well, you can get it at Amazon, local bookstores. The easiest thing to do is to go to www.theriseofkobebook.com, and you can order it from anywhere. Even go to like Target or Costco. Barrett, Gunner, when you guys are shopping for your fishing trips, just pick up a copy of the book and like a giant can of beefarino, and you're ready to go.
Beefarino.
So how many years did you put into researching the book before you put it to paper?
Well, I mean, I had written about Kobe and covered Kobe a little bit here and there for years.
Right.
And I had contacts with people who were close to him when he was at Lower Merion. From the time I got the idea and got the contract until the time I finished the first draft of the manuscript was about 11 months. And then you turn in the manuscript and the publisher takes it. It's got to be edited and dressed up, and you got to get photos and all that kind of stuff. So it basically took like 2 years, the whole process, but it took me about a year, a little bit less than that, to write the actual book.
And Mike, the crux of it is the early years of Kobe. What sort of drove him to get to superstardom? Give us maybe one anecdote or one thing that really blew you away. And there it is right there. Kobe Bryant and the Pursuit of Immortality, The Rise by Mike Sealski. Great cover and great title, by the way. One thing that really just sort of, took you back, someone who had done a lot of research on him.
So when Kobe was 15 or 16, he had a friend named Anthony Gilbert who he'd gotten to know.
I know Anthony.
Yeah. Really good guy.
Great guy.
Still around the NBA quite a bit. And Anthony got to know Kobe through Kobe's older sister, Sharia. So the two of them would drive around to basketball courts and playgrounds in and around the city, and they would play. But they would play a particularly interesting kind of basketball. Anthony had two jobs. He would rebound for Kobe while Kobe was dunking and shooting threes and working on his footwork and, doing all these drills that Kobe would put himself through. Mm-hmm. And he would scream at Kobe, "You're soft. You go to a white school. You couldn't play in the public league." Like literally screaming at him. And Kobe wanted him to do this because this was kind of like the emotional armor that Kobe was going to put on against the trash talking and the intimidation tactics that he was already experiencing in high school and that he knew he would experience in the NBA. And to have a kid who's 15 or 16 thinking that way at that age and so devoted and so blinkered and single-minded that he would prepare himself that way to be what he turned out to be, which was the greatest basketball player on the planet, that sort of thing blew me away. You can hear all you want about the Mamba mentality and, being devoted to greatness, but until you hear an anecdote like that, I'm not sure anybody really has an appreciation for what that means.
Was that still incredible? Yeah. Was that from his dad, Mike, who obviously played at the highest level as well? Or is that just Kobe innate in him?
I think it's partly innate in him. I think most of that comes from his mother, Pam. She was really the strong one, had the strong personality in the family. But of course, Kobe had also seen Joe play in the NBA, have to cut his career short because it didn't quite work out the way Joe would have wanted it to, have to go abroad and play in Italy. And I think that served as a motivating force for Kobe early in his life. I'm going to restore the Bryant good name in the world of basketball. And I'm going to do it by not necessarily making the same mistakes that my dad made or not allowing people to control my future in the way my dad's future was controlled by the Sixers for trading him or the Rockets for releasing him or things like that.
That's tough, man, because I never had that. Like, I mean, played in the NFL 12 years, got drafted in the second round, but there was no way that I was thinking like that. At 15, I wasn't thinking like that up until 2 years before I got drafted. You know what I mean? To me, that's like mind-boggling to have that much focus and intensiveness, at that point in his life, at 14, 15, 16 years old. I'm thinking about girls and everything else. I'm not thinking about playing, and having somebody yell at me. That's like mind-boggling to me.
Well, what's interesting though, Barrett, is that I know for a fact that Rob Ellis, when he was like 15, used to walk around Delaware County like screaming sports takes at people.
I did.
So you may not have had that mentality, but I think Rob and Kobe did.
The only difference is I got punched for doing it. So that was my armor.
I'm not surprised that Kobe had that mentality at that age, because I covered his dad, Joe Jellybean Bryant, when he played briefly for the San Diego Clippers.
Jeez.
Okay. Now, his dad was never a great player. He was a good player, a good role player. He wasn't a great player. But one thing Joe was, he was a stickler for details. And you could tell that in his son. Joe, he didn't like losing like nobody did, but he was a stickler for the little things, and he was a workaholic. And you can see that in his son. In terms of how Kobe turned out. Kobe took it to a whole nother level. Yeah. Because when you hear Shaq talking about Kobe, well, everybody's in a hotel out in the club. Kobe's in the gym shooting 100 jumpers or 100 free throws. See, that's what separated the good ones from the great ones. And I know Kobe got that foundation from his dad.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that, Gunnar. I think, Kobe lived it and worked it every single day. Yep. In a way that even his dad couldn't approximate. His dad, in fairness, his dad was also the kind of guy who would like miss the team bus from the hotel to practice sometimes. So, hey, look, any athlete who gets to that level is going to be a stickler for details and work his tail off and all of that. So, as Barrett said, there's this, and then there's Kobe and, athletes and figures like him.
Mike, did they, not to end this on a sad note, but did they ever reconcile? I know that Kobe and his parents had a falling out before he passed. I'm curious. Do you know about that?
Not to my knowledge, they didn't, Rob. And, it's funny. I reached out to Joe and Pam. I sent them a letter and sent them samples of my writing to try to get them to agree to be interviewed for the book. I would have loved to have spoken with them. They didn't respond. I heard from intermediaries that they were aware I was doing the book. But they have spoken publicly not once since his death. Right. And I got to think that that's a big reason why, that they always felt like there'd be time for them to reconcile, because they were such a close family when he was young. And that's one of the things that just breaks my heart every time I think about it.
That's sad. It is sad. All right, let me ask you one more, just to not go out on such a sad note. As far as the Big Five goes, I know there are a few folks that are doing victory laps because they feel like now Jay's gone, there's a shot that that there can be some relevance with the other four teams. Do you buy that at all?
I think it's going to be a struggle for most of them. Certainly at my alma mater, LaSalle, certainly at St. Joe's, you see the conditions those programs are in right now. It's going to take some time for them to build themselves back up. It looks like Aaron McKee is laying a foundation at Temple finally, but I still don't love the conference that Temple is in. And, the local ties there aren't quite as strong as they once were. Steve Donahue's a terrific coach at Penn. But in terms of the collective nature of the Big Five, the competitiveness and the relevance on the college basketball scene, I think it's going to take a minute for that to come back. And, the one thing about Villanova being dominant was, they would beat all those other teams by double-digit points every year. But they also got to say that those teams also got to say, hey, we're in the Big Five with Villanova, the best team in the country. So how long that lasts, and whether the fact that Villanova may not be as prestigious as it once was without Jay, could serve to hurt the Big Five as well.
No question. Mike, we appreciate it, man. Check out Mike's work, Inquirer.com, at Mike Sealski on Twitter. And of course, you got to get the book, man. The phenomenal, The Rise, Kobe Bryant in Pursuit of Immortality. Mike, appreciate it, man. Always fun chatting with you, buddy.
You guys are the best. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome,
man.
Man.
That's Mike Sealski right there. All right, so now is the time for folks to get their good questions lined up and ready to go. Okay, we're going to jump into the Eagles in the draft when we get back, guys, and we're gonna delve into the wide receiver position, the quarterback position. We'll react to some of the things that Howie and Nick had to say yesterday as well. So we'll get all that covered. But yeah, you want to jump in with some questions? 2:00, Keith Pompey is going to join us. We'll talk some Phillies a little bit later as well, but we're going to dive into some football for sure on this Thursday. But first, the luxury bus. I can hear it revving up in the background. Can you guys hear it? The luxury bus?
Yep. I can smell the diesel.
Okay. All right. It's ready to go. The JAKIB Media luxury tour bus to the draft extravaganza. Barrett, guess who it's brought to us by? Your good friends and ours at Stateside Vodka. Barrett's got 18 cases he's sitting on right now, as a matter of fact, from Krause. He hooked them up. But if you're in the region and you're interested in see the luxury tour bus, join us. Ocean Casino Resort and JAKIB Media. The night's going to be wild. We are going to be doing our show from 12 to 3 there, but also Derek and I and a cast of thousands, including Barrett, including Mike Quick, including Seth Joyner, are going to be doing the show from Ocean Resort Casino as soon as that first round kicks off at 8 o'clock till the end of the first round. So it is going to be an all-day affair, that's for sure. Here's what you need to do in the subject line, all right? Gunner invited me. That's what you need to put in the subject line. Email Krause, Krausey, at JAKIB, JAKIB media.com. You do that. And by the way, there's only 36 seats on this bad boy, all right? So you want to get in on this thing. It's a luxury limo bus, 12 seats per show, refreshments, food, special prizes. 3 lucky winners will sit in the VIP section for the live show. This is coming courtesy of the king of content himself, Joe Krause. JAKIB Media will communicate with everybody this weekend and provide all the details. Are we ready? Dude, let's go. Luxury bus time. All right, Barrett, Gunner, I'm Rob. We come back. We're talking some football. Get those good questions ready from our comment section. Slam that like button. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Media YouTube Network.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
All right, did you know I was the mommy slam dunk champion?
Really?
Yes, really, don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, I go to left, fake a mom. Mama, go up, mama!
She did it.
Again?
You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Oh, yeah. Welcome all back, everybody. He is D Gun. He is B Brooks. I am R. Ellis. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Media YouTube Network. Tell a friend. Smash that like button. We've had a lot of fun the first hour, talking a lot of hoops between the Sixers and Villanova, always exciting. A lot of stuff happening with Jay Wright retiring, et cetera. But we can't. Man, we went an hour. I'm having like convulsions and stuff. We haven't talked about the Eagles in the draft because we're a week away from the NFL draft. Let me first start with this, guys, before we really get into some of the draft stuff and we start fielding some of your questions. Any takeaways? And I know we were kind of coming on the air at the time yesterday when they met with the media, but from Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni, anything stand out, or was it just the usual fare where you're not saying a whole lot to not, tip your hand, if you will? Anything stand out, Gunner?
It was typical pre-draft stuff, and I don't blame them. What organization wants to tip their hand and let anybody know, especially if you have success in your draft process? And you certainly don't want your competition within your division to know what you're doing. So they don't give a lot of insight. No team really does. We're looking at all prospects. And I looked at the transcript over and over again just to see if something would jump out, in pertaining to the draft. And no, but that's status quo. I mean, that's what you do. It's a cat and mouse game. Never let your opponent know what you're thinking. That's the way I was with Barrett. I would tell Barrett what he needed to know, but I wouldn't always tell him what I wanted to know. So, you got to keep them at arm's length, man, because you compete against these people.
That's right.
Friends like this.
Barrett's on a need-to-know basis. For
friends like this, who needs enemies? Friends like this.
Exactly.
How about you, B? Anything jump out?
We're not going out and get any of these high-priced receivers. That's what I did here.
Correct. I have the same takeaway. I don't think that's happening either.
I think they're very confident in the guys they have in their locker room. You could tell by where they were talking. You could tell also that, they got a lot of faith in their process. You know what I'm saying? They talk about their process. So, we'll see. We'll see. Howie, I think, he learned a lot from this last draft as far as some people he can lean on to help him with his decisions. And I think he's pretty confident going in. And Andy Waddell's going to be somebody he's going to lean on a little bit. I'm hoping that the pipeline between he and the coaches is open, you know what I'm saying? And that they're very, they're very intertwined in who they want on this team. That's what I'm hoping.
You're hoping. Well, yeah. No, look, hey, go ahead, Barrett.
Barrett brought up a good point. They're happy with where the process is right now, and that's understandable. When this team rose from the ashes and found a way to get into a playoff with a team that was in a transition state, as Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman told us all last offseason, that we are in transition, meaning we got to retool this thing. Nobody likes to use the word rebuild. We like to retool this thing. So they had a winning record. They got young players, a lot of game experience along the way. The team as a whole, especially the young players, got some valuable playoff experience along the way. And they're going to continue to try to build around this thing. So as soon as the season ended and people especially started talking about, we need a quarterback, we need to go get Russell Wilson, we need to get Aaron Rodgers, they're not coming here. That's not what you want here. Mm-hmm. Those type of quarterbacks are not what this team needs. If you're going to rebuild this thing the right way, you want to rebuild it with a young signal caller as well. And you have to justify making him, taking him where you did in the draft. So one season, 18 games was not enough sample of what he is or what he isn't to this organization. And while we have all broken down his deficiencies time and time again, this organization, whether you like it or not, has said, you know what? We see some things that we believe that he can win with. We've got to, number one, change the playbook to his strengths. Number two, make sure he's getting the right tutoring in the offseason to make himself a better individual. And number three, we have to stay the course and stay committed to this guy at least for one more year.
Yeah.
Because, when they drafted him in the second round, when you're in the midst of Carson Wentz still being the franchise quarterback, everybody on the planet is like, what? I mean, this kid was projected as a third or fourth round draft pick, and you took him as high as you did. You have to justify that. And one season does not justify taking him where you took him. So kudos to the Eagles for staying the course, whether, you like it, you didn't like it, you're indifferent to it, whatever the case may be. You have to stay with this young man at least one more year. Build around him, and it looks like they're going to stay committed to the young nucleus around him, wide receivers, running back group, and try to build that thing through the draft even more so. Because there's still a lot of middle of the road veteran talent out there they could sprinkle in, and they may still do it depending on how they come out of the draft to fill some spots on this roster. But as of right now, they're staying committed to it.
Let's hit a couple questions here, which I think are interesting. Let's start with this one from Gigi. Do we trust on Howie to hit on the early rounds of the draft, or should we use picks to trade for an elite receiver? And this kind of feeds into what we're discussing right now.
Yeah.
They had a good draft last year. There's no denying that. I mean, when you get impact guys like they got, but there's been a lot of bad drafts too. And I feel like you can take this approach they're taking, guys, and that's all well and good if you're not going to go real kind of splashy. I mean, offensively, because they signed Reddick. But you better get the draft right. You better nail a receiver at some point, whether that's the first, second, third round, whatever the case may be. You better get at least one in here, because right now it is nowhere near good enough on the outside.
You're absolutely right, man. I mean, they're gonna have to get somebody early, since they didn't go in free agency and go out and get a big name guy, somebody they know you could count on, somebody that's done it and proven themselves to be upper echelon elite wide receiver. Mm-hmm. They totally blew their chances of doing that. So, all right, they're going to go into this year with Pascal being their veteran receiver. Now, from what we've heard from the head coach, Sirianni, that's he's more than happy with that dog mentality that this guy displays, and he's going to bring the attitude they need into the locker room and especially into that meeting room. But going forward, they're still going to need somebody opposite of Smith to play at a high level. Now, whether you think that this roster is good enough right now, they do. They think their roster is good enough right now, so they're confident going in the draft and building in the draft as they go forward. Am I confident enough? I would have liked to see more, but the mentality of this team right now is to go in and trust the guys they have, trust this process, and they'll be okay with everything that they have going on in the locker room. So,
well, Barrett, that said, though, I'm asking you and Derek, you could chime in on this too. Do you think that they still believe in Jalen Reagor?
They can't possibly think they can't possibly still believe in Jalen Reagor as a guy that's going to come out and just totally turn and do a 360 or even a 180 from what they saw last year and the year before. In fact, I would question them as talent evaluators if they do that. Even as far as practice, you cannot say that this young man right now is a guy that can come in and help your football team in the manner which you need him to and you drafted him to at at this point. What you saw is what you saw. If your eyes are deceiving you, they're deceiving, and telling you that he still has an opportunity to be a great receiver, then I got to question who you are as a talent evaluator. So us thinking that he's going to come out and be more than what he was last year, no, it's not like a BG problem. BG eventually, got it right and became a great player. It's totally not what I see at BG. BG was hurt. He was a tweener. They didn't know how to play him. That's the difference.
And he worked his tail off too.
Right. This guy is a wide receiver that just didn't have it. So, if you're not a good wide receiver, then you got to be good in special teams. He didn't have that either.
Right.
So, as a talented evaluator, I can't see Jalen Reagor being that type of guy that's going to come in and make a big splash or an influence this year. So, I don't see Jalen Reagor as the guy that's going to go forward and be anything what he is.
What's your sense there?
J-Jaw either.
No. To answer the question, no. I think they're extremely frustrated with the lack of productivity from Jalen Reagor, and rightfully so. Some of it is on him in terms of not honing his skills a lot more. Right now, he's a little more than a quality special teams player for this team. But when you consider how high they drafted him, that's not good enough. That's not the value they were hoping to get out of him. But this organization is frustrated with where he is right now. And he's basically has been given an ultimatum. Look, you need to get it together. You're not going to be here much longer. you know, and that's understandable. So now the young man has to step back, look at himself in the mirror and say, how bad do I want this? I've sacrificed through high school and college to get to this point, and I was a high draft pick, and I've not lived up to expectations. Now, obviously, a quarterback makes a receiver. A quarterback gets you the ball. That's how a receiver is made, by how many times a quarterback gets you the ball. But if a quarterback doesn't trust you out on the field, you're not getting the ball, which means you're a liability more so than an asset. So Jalen Reagor has, hopefully, this season to turn things around. You know, depending on what the Eagles do in the draft, he may not have this season to prove himself again.
Well, J-Jaw, look at J-Jaw. He's passed 2 catches last year, Derek. Come on, man.
Yeah. But he's a great special teams player. Well, those are a dime a dozen. You can take a 7th-round pick and make him a great special teams player, you know. But they haven't gotten the value they were hoping they were getting out of Arcega-Whiteside, Umbrella Whiteside, and Jalen Reagor. Okay. And so now they've got to make up for lost time.
Rihanna Whiteside, yeah.
So, you know, it wouldn't surprise me, depending on who's still on the board, if the Eagles went into the bag and got another receiver in the first round again. But if they get another receiver in the first round again, one of those guys, Whiteside or Reagor, is not going to be here.
All right. So another question here, and this ties into what you were saying, possibly in the first round, but Gematria, the real deal. I don't know if I'm mispronouncing that. Gematria or Gematria. I don't know. D-end or linebacker in the first round. What do you thinking, B?
I think they're going to go with a pass rusher. You know, they just like we've been saying, and everybody that comes on as far as a guest will say the same thing. They believe in shoring things up in the trenches. You know, and to me, that leads me to believe it's going to be a defensive end. It would totally shock me, and it probably shock every Eagles fan and Eagles, you know, coach that's been here and Eagles player that's been here if they go out and draft the linebacker in the first round. It'd be unheard of, be an uncharted territory. In fact, I think the sky would be falling if they drafted the linebacker in the first round. There's
been like a little bit of rumbling that this may be the year that they bust away from that. Maybe. I'm just saying, maybe.
From your mouth to God's ears.
All
but
right.
There's some quality out there in Lloyd. You can go with
what linebacker do you like the best? Lloyd, Dean?
I like Lloyd. I like Lloyd the best. Lloyd
What about
is
Christian
my guy.
Harris from Bama? You like him at all?
Christian Harris, even though he's got his neck infused, he's still a really, really good. In fact, he's big. He's like 6'4", 6'3". You know, can run. Can hit. He'd have probably been a second rounder, a low first rounder.
Runs a 4.4. Runs a 4.440.
Bro, he wore number 18. 18 is one of the most coveted numbers for the
Bama.
LSU. Number 7.
LSU. LSU 7. Yeah, that's the big number at LSU. Yeah.
So, I like him, man.
Who did Christian Harris play for?
Alabama. Yeah.
Good enough for me.
That's it. That's all you need to hear.
Play for Alabama. Good enough for me. Now the one I like the most is Nakobe Dean. I love the way this kid plays. I understand he's an undersized linebacker, but you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. They get these undersized linebackers, but what's the attribute that they have? They are lightning fast. When you see running backs trying to turn a corner, all of a sudden you see these guys draped all over them like a cheap suit. You know, sideline to sideline, and they're tenacious. They get up under these big linemen, you know, to shed blocks and stuff like that. They can fill the holes. They can drop back and cover, tight end, slot receivers. Nakobe Dean can do it all.
Yeah.
And I watched this kid play all last year, and I'm thinking every game, at least once, I'm sitting there going, wow. He's always where the ball is.
And he's my frat brother, too.
He's what?
He's my frat brother, too, just so you know.
He's
cute.
Yeah. You know
don't draft him.
I don't like him.
He's
I don't
out.
like him one bit. I don't like him.
You're right there. He's the real deal, man.
He's
he
the
can
real
run.
deal, man. You know, you look at a small backer. Who's a small middle linebacker for Tampa Bay? Was it Devin White?
Yes, White.
Okay, look at him. Look at his play.
Devontae David also.
Yeah,
Blowing
this
play.
is the
Always blowing
classic
a play.
mistake of people saying he's 5'11" or he's 5'10". He's not even 6 foot. Okay, put the tape on against the best competition in the country. He wasn't playing stiffs. And the guy is dominant. And his football IQ and instincts are off the charts. He's 10 steps ahead of everybody on the field, this guy. I love Nakobe Dean.
But, Rob, look at him. You look at the way teams are running schemes these days on offense. Everybody's on 11 personnel except the Eagles. Everybody's on 11 personnel. 1 tight end, 1 running back. The rest wide receivers, 3 wide receivers. You got to have linebackers that can cover wide receivers,
right.
cover tight ends, and cover running backs. You need a guy like that. But also you need a guy that's just going to go out there and just be, you know, a savant in the middle of that defense. You know, say as you want everybody talking about Ray Lewis was just so tough. Ray Lewis, he didn't really play a tough game. He played a smart game, a calculated game. Mm-hmm. He went and made plays because he read so fast and he could evaluate what's going on before it even happened. If you came out in a certain set, he would know where the play is going before you even, you know, before you even hike the ball, because he had watched so much film. You want players like that evaluate. The days, you know, the big Jeremiah Trotter linebackers, and that's my dude, man. I played with him, and he was a monster. Are gone because you have to have these smaller guys that can carry, you know, people down the seams. You know, carry running backs and wide receivers down the seam. You need guys like that. So,
and not only that, Barrett, but when you look at Nakobe Dean, you send him on a blitz, he's gonna get there. He's getting home. He's that quick off the snap. And even if he doesn't sack the quarterback, he's making that quarterback alter his decision-making process. He's making him expedite that process. And a lot of times the quarterback makes a mistake, and that's what you want to help your defense get some of those turnovers. You know, the Eagles need to get defensive players that can help them enhance the turnover. They were one of the worst teams in the National Football League in terms of generating turnovers.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Eagles need defensive players who can get home. If Jonathan Gannon is going to stick to his guns and not blitz that much, then you need players that can help you change your mindset. The way Nick Sirianni changed his mindset about the offense, bring some defensive players in here so that Jonathan Gannon to sit back looking at this on paper and say, you know what? I can blitz more with this guy coming up the middle. If we get an edge rush, I can blitz more with this guy coming over here, especially if that edge rusher is an interchangeable part where you can flip-flop him on either side. So, you know, you can line him up over the weak link of an offensive line. You know, I'm telling you, it changes the game in terms of what you can do to disrupt the timing and the chemistry of an offense. You look at the better defenses in the National Football League and some of the better teams in the league, a lot of times these teams are winning because of the defensive prowess. Yeah. We give so many accolades to offense, but we neglect sometimes what the defense has. You know, the defense is handcuffed to begin with because of all the rule changes. But you can still overcome a lot of these things. And you look at some of the better defenses in it. I mean, look at that Rams defense, man. Look at the way the Rams defense plays.
Yep.
You know, they're lightning fast across the ball. The front seven is lightning fast. And they go out and get these players, whether they draft them or trade for them. You know, you got Aaron Donald coming up the middle. You got Von Miller over here. If I'm a quarterback, I'm stepping to the line of scrimmage doing like this. Instead of calling cadence, get my guys, I'm like, okay, he's right here. Now, where's that other?
Leonard? Yep, Leonard on the other side.
Oh, my goodness. Leonard Floyd?
Yep.
Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? That's today's football, man. You got to load up on these guys. When that ball is snapped, you want these defensive players to be able to beat the offensive linemen out of the stances a lot of times. And that's what the better defenses do.
All right, let me ask you, because I've noticed this this obsession from our man Easy Money. He loves Matt Corral. Okay. I noticed in the comments, that's all he talks about. Barrett, your thoughts on the Ole Miss QB?
I like him. He's definitely a student of the game. The year before last, he was a little reckless with the ball. He threw a lot of interception, had a lot of fumbles, just being careless with the ball. Well, he came back this year, and under the tutelage of their head coach, you know, became a better passer, a better decision maker. You know, things started going well for him, and in the entire season, he played well enough that you have to consider one of the top quarterbacks because he did take care of the ball. He has everything you want from a quarterback. You know, he has a live arm. He can move around, has very functional mobility. He's a good quarterback, but I don't know if he would. I mean, if he got drafted last year, he wouldn't be in the top 5 or top 6. But he does have talent. He's got those leadership qualities you want. But, you know, I think he's kind of far away from being an NFL starter. You know what I'm saying? I think right now Jalen Hurts is more of a starter than he would be in the NFL right now. He wouldn't come in and just be a game day starter, the first game. He wouldn't be that guy.
Are there any guys who fit that bill for you? I mean, there's Pickett, who played 1,000,000 games at Pitt. There's
He's the
Willis,
closest.
who's a little more raw. Yeah,
He's raw. He's going to take a couple years also. Not this year or next year. But Pickett's probably the closest. He might go on a team and start like mid-season or something. Or if they need him to play now, he probably could play now, but he'll go through a lot of bumps and bruises because he can't run away from guys like he ran away from guys in college football. People understand the NFL, man. When you're playing college football, you're playing against maybe 4 or 5 All-Americans. When you get to the NFL, all those guys on the roster were All-American, all Big Ten, all SEC, all Big 12. They were the all teams, the all players that were on those teams. So you have to adjust to what you're seeing now. I mean, the speed is just so fast, decision making so fast. The game is just so fast when you first get to the league. And I don't think any of the quarterbacks this year will come in and be first day starters. They eventually will be good quarterbacks, but even the kid from Cincinnati, what's his name? Ritter. Ritter's going to be a pretty good pro also. Tall, has all the intangibles as far as arm strength. A perfectionist, he wants to do everything the right way, but it's going to take him a while for him to get on the field. It's going to take him a good while to get on the field.
When you look at Corral, the one thing that's going to stagnate somewhat is development in terms of making a transition from the college ranks to the pros. Is he didn't play in a pro-style offense in college, and that's going to hurt. You look at a lot of these college programs now offensively, they're transitioning, playing these pro-style offenses now, which helps expedite a quarterback's play, making that transition. And Corral's got a great arm. I love his arm. He's fearless. He reminds me a little bit of a Baker Mayfield with better quarterback instincts.
And a little
bigger too.
Yeah, say what you want to say about a Baker Mayfield, but Baker goes out and plays the game with reckless abandon. And that's this guy. He's not afraid to stick his nose in there and get dirty. He's not afraid of taking a hit. He's got the arm. He's got the tangibles to make the transition, but I think he's also a sit and wait. I know a lot of people out there love him, but he's not one of these guys who's going to make the transition where he's going to plug and play right away. He's got to get with an offense where he has time to sit and learn for a couple of years. And I do think he's going to be a legitimate NFL quarterback. I just think it's going to take him a couple of years to develop.
All right. Let's come back. Let's continue the draft talk. I want to dive a little bit more into the wide receivers. We talked a lot about the fact that the Eagles may not go after Deebo Samuel. Right. But what receivers do we really like the best? We'll do that when we get back. We'll mix in a little Phillies who, believe it or not, guys, breaking news, they won. They won a game. Yes, you heard me correct. They won a game yesterday. So we'll talk about that as well. Keep the questions coming. We will go with the best ones. That's for sure. We are Sports Take. Barrett, Derek, Rob, JAKIB Media YouTube Network.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
All right, did you know I was the mommy slam dunk champion?
Really?
Yes, really, don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, I go to left, fake a mom. Mama, go up, mama!
She did it.
Again?
You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Oh, welcome back in, everybody. Sports Take. Rob Ellis, D-Gun, Barrett Brooks on this Thursday. Looking forward to the NFL draft coming up. So we'll keep that discussion rolling. I do want to get into the Phillies in a second, guys. But let's talk about the receivers. Let's assume that they're not going to make a move for Deebo Samuel. Always dangerous to assume things with the Eagles, but let's just do that for our purposes. Let's run through it here because you have some interesting names here when it comes to the wideouts that could be available. Now, I'm not saying these guys are going to be there at 15 when the Eagles are selecting, but let me just throw you a couple names here. So, again, the Eagles have 15 and 18 in the first round, 5 picks in the first 101. So they have a lot of picks early, despite trading away one of their first-rounders. You got Jameson Williams out of Alabama, kid who would have been the consensus, not even a thought number one, but he blows out his knee and not sure if he'd be able to start the season for you because he blew it out late. I think it was January. I forget the exact
National championship game.
National championship game.
Yeah.
So he 6'2", 179, 4.48, 40, 79 catches, over 1,500 yards, 15 touchdowns. A monster. You got Garrett Wilson from Ohio State, runs a 4.3, 40, 70 catches, over 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns. Chris Olave, his teammate, 6 foot, $187, runs a 4.39. Big game, big season for him as well. 65 catches, 13 touchdowns. Then you got some real big dudes. Traylon Burks from Arkansas, 6'2", 225, still runs a 4.5, over 66 catches, over 1,000 yards. Drake London, another guy with an ankle injury, runs a 4.5. He's 6'4", 220, 88 catches, by the way, guys, for 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns in 8 games. You got Jahan Dotson out of Penn State. I'm sure a lot of people around here saw him. 6'1", 178, 4.43, 91 catches, 1,100 yards, 12 touchdowns. I'm throwing some at you, but there's a lot more than that. Any of these guys jump out at you guys? Any of these guys you look at and say, man, they'd be a perfect fit for this Eagles team?
Yes, yes, and yes. Jameson Williams, I think he'll be back for the first game. He'll be back, and we're talking about a guy that's going to come in and put up numbers that are just unbelievable. Talking about the top tier wide receiver, he would have been the consensus number one. And I still think that he'll be there around 15 when the Eagles are going to pick, just because he does have an injury. And I think that at this point, the way his rehab is, he'll get a clean bill of health going into training camp, and he'll be good to go. So that's easy money to pick up a guy. If he's sitting there, that's easy money to pick that guy up. Somebody opposite.
Do you think he'll drop because of the injury, Barrett, that much?
I think so. I think
so. Yep.
And the reason why I say that's going to be a run on certain positions, and the positions are corners, offensive linemen, and defensive ends. Those guys there'll be a run, and there's a lot of those guys in perfect position to bounce a guy like Williams back, because there's going to be guys needing. Quarterbacks are still going to make their run, even though these quarterbacks, I feel as though they're not as good as they've been years prior, but they're still going to make a run. So hopefully he'll be there. And plus, Chris Olave and Wilson, they're so talented, in the 1-2 punch that they bring to the table, that you'll get great value out of these guys coming in and being in camp and being in mini camp and being in the situation where they're playing immediately.
How about you, Derek?
When I look at James and Williams, I think he's the most intriguing wide receiver on the board, because you wonder how many teams will shy away from him based on the knee. And I think he will end up with a team that has adapted wide receiver so you can bring him along gradually so you're not rushing him. You know, if there's a team out there that needs an immediate impact wide receiver because he is an impact receiver when he's healthy, I think you're going to have to wait and see with this issue. Now, Barrett says he's going to have a clean bill of health, and probably so, because with modern technology now and all this rehab, guys are back on the field a lot sooner than they were a few years ago. But I think some teams that are loaded with receivers would back off of them unless they just feel that, hey, you know what, by maybe the end of the first month of the season, this kid will be right where we are, more so than a team that says we need an impact receiver right now. When I look at a kid like Wilson and Burks, those are the two guys I'm really going to watch closely, because Wilson in particular, you can play him in the slot, you can play him outside. They stretch the field. Burks, the big kid, 6'3", 225, he can flat out go. That's a vertical threat. I don't expect either one of those to last past the top 20 draft picks. I'd be shocked if they're still on the board after the top 20 draft picks. Barrett's right. There's going to be a run, but people are going to get itchy because you got to have people that can get the ball to the end zone. And both Wilson and Burks are the type of receivers that can get the ball to the end zone. They're good route runners. They need to polish their games a little bit, but they're good route runners. They play the good passing programs as well. They've been groomed well. If they get with the right offense, they can hit the ground running and give you immediate help. But those are my two favorites. I mean, Williams stands above the rest, but I have the question mark because of where is he with the knee issue. You know, some guys heal quicker than others. We understand that. But, you know, I expect him to be ready to go when they kick off the season, considering he tore his knee up in the national championship game in early January. So he's going to have, 8 months to get himself ready to get back in the game. But those other two guys, Wilson and Burks, I'm going to love watching to see where those guys go.
What I'm really interested in, we've seen taking a gamble on the injured player work and not work for the Eagles.
Worked with the Eagles, yeah.
Landon Dickerson, right? I mean, a college career where when he was on the field, he was a dominant offensive lineman, but he was hurt a lot and major injuries, right? He had a great year last year for them when he stepped in at guard. We've also seen it not work. You know, we all know Sidney Jones and the way that played out, you know, when they essentially redshirted him that 1 year and he really was never the guy. So like there's some school of thought that the Eagles would be scared off from a Williamson type because of the injuries. But I don't know. I don't think so. I think it just depends on value. And if you sit there, like Drake London's missed a boatload of time at USC.
Right.
That dude is a stud.
No question.
You said 8 games over 1,000 yards?
Yeah. But
no question. No question.
You do worry a little bit, man, because he's missed a good amount of time.
And by the way, we missed out on DK Metcalf because of, you know, his neck situation.
Right.
That beat us in the ass. You know, so there are so many situations where modern medicine is getting guys back quicker than when I was playing. It used to be that if you had an Achilles, you were out for the year.
Right.
Or a knee, you were out for the year. Now they're being guys are coming back in 8-9 months. You know, so
I worry more about an Achilles than I do an ACL these days.
Right.
But you know what, Barrett, you brought up a good point though. Look at how far DK fell because of the injury factor out there.
Yeah.
Okay. He was legit first. Now, how many teams are kicking themselves that they passed on a DK Metcalf?
I'm tired of kicking myself.
And I can see a Jameis Williams falling in that category. You know. He's the elite. He is the elite of the elite that are on the board coming out. But how many teams might shy away because they just don't know? Is he all the way back? Is he weird? And he's gonna be tested, obviously. You know, people are testing him and prodding and probing him, you know, time and time again. That, you know, teams' medical staff are going to be constant conversations with the university medical staff. Where is he? How is he? How's he doing? You know. So on and so forth. But I think he can slide down the board a little bit just because of that.
I worry, you know, the track record with receivers. I don't want to say Devontae Smith fell into their lap because kudos to Howie for making that trade with Miami and getting an additional one. So that was a big time move. But, you know, he was still sitting there, a guy who had such a it was a Heisman Trophy winner, I mean, for crying out loud. It was kind of a no-brainer. But when it hasn't been a no-brainer, it hasn't gone all that well. Arcega-Whiteside, Reagor, etc. Even when we don't need to relive this, but Justin Jefferson's sitting there and you don't take it. I just worry that Howie and that staff don't have a good eye for this position.
I'm gonna tell you a sleeper. and this will be one of the sleepers that if they're the smartest guy in the room, I'll take it. And it's a guy that I did the semis for the FCS football last year.
Mm-hmm.
I did North Dakota State, JMU, and I had a chance to watch a whole lot of film of Christian Watson. 6'4", 210 pounds, 4.3 40. Jumped off the film, can catch, but he's from an FCS school instead of an FBS school. He would be somebody that I would consider. This kid is going to be a star.
A lot of people like him a lot.
I didn't see that. Let me see.
Black Line chimes in. How do you guys feel about Christian Watson? Perfect timing at wide receiver, second or third. Where's the projection here with him? Is he? I think he's probably a second rounder. Honestly, he's getting a lot of love lately.
I think he's jumped up to first. I think he's late first.
Really, first round.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. He showed something, that breakaway speed, catching, his ability to be a return man on special teams. He's gonna be a major. He's gonna contribute somebody majorly their first year, and he's somebody that I feel as though they're going to be like, all right, we're going to get this guy because it's going to make a big splash and he's going to do better than anybody else.
Yeah, there's some PTSD North Dakota State, okay? Ball 316, no more North Dakota State. I'm good on that. I can't blame him. I got to be honest, it's totally irrational, but I feel him on that one.
Right.
I'm not kidding.
Absolutely, man.
I still somebody brings up Wentz, I'm like,
right.
I'm feeling a little bit of that.
But when you look at a kid like Christian Watson, though, here's a kid that can come in and be a number 3, but all of a sudden, if his play lives up to the expectation, he can easily elevate to a number 2.
Yeah,
in a lot of offenses, because of his size, his agility, his pass catching ability, his great hands. I only saw the kid play once, and so obviously Barrett calling the games got to look at him a lot more. But here's a guy you don't have to put a lot of pressure on him to be what you want him to be in the long run. Now, by midway of the season, if he is everything you expect him to be, all of a sudden he's starting to get headlines and starting getting his name mentioned a lot more in various television programs and all these football shows that are out there. And now he's going to start turning heads a lot more.
Well,
he's an intriguing player.
No, but as far as the way you look at this, is there a danger in looking at it and saying, all right, his complement on the other side, Smith, is on the smaller side. We have to draft the big guy. Or do you just say, who's the best player available at this position if you're the Eagles?
See, that's where I don't know how they're going to be thinking. Best player available, they haven't been a best player available type of team. Not to me. I mean, if it was best player available, we wouldn't have Jalen Reagor right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We wouldn't have had Minnesota, standing up and having a standing ovation, if it was best player available. So we know that's not the case.
Yeah.
Even in the second round, we probably wouldn't have gotten Landon Dickerson. We probably would have gotten Asante Samuel Jr. You know what I'm saying? So they're not a best player available. I think that Howie just relies mostly on his gut, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of the times, going with his gut, and now he's starting to listen to Andy, they might make a splash, man. I mean, say what you want to say about last year. They had 4 picks hit that played last year. Running back, O-line, D-line, and receiver. 4 guys hitting those 4 first rounds. I mean, four rounds. So I love it. You know what I'm saying? I enjoyed that draft. I was kind of questioning Landon Dickerson at the time.
I was too.
Everybody did.
Yeah, I thought we needed a corner as opposed. We still need a corner because of that.
Well, what worried me about Landon Dickerson was for a young dude to have the amount of serious injuries he had. I'm saying he's going to the NFL against bigger, stronger guys now, and he couldn't hold up against college guys. How is it? And look, I hope I'm wrong. He had an unbelievable rookie year for them, and he looks like a find. I mean, that's the strength of this team. I mean, they have an offensive line. If everybody's intact, with Lane Johnson and Landon Dickerson and Jason Kelsey and
back.
Yeah, I mean, they have and a little bit of depth right now. unless Dillard, which is a distinct possibility, gets traded draft night, that's the strength of this team, and you got to build off of it. Yeah,
well, you said that right there. You said that right there, and please don't say it's my fault, but I'm seriously thinking that's what's going to happen. Dickerson is on the board to trade, and he's going to garner a lot of attention. Dillard. I'm sorry, Dillard.
Yep.
A lot of attention going Dillard's way.
Well, kudos to Jeff Stoutland also for identifying that, Dickerson struggled a little bit when he played on the right side. But once you moved him over to the left side, it seemed like a natural fit right there.
Right.
At that point, when he initially started playing on the right side, people are saying, oh, my goodness, see, here to get a guy with a bum knee, he can't play. He struggled a little bit. I mean, he's a rookie, first of all. What rookie hits the ground running, playing lights out, playing at a Pro Bowl level?
Besides Barrett.
Wait,
I didn't play at a Pro Bowl level.
Did Barrett actually say me? I know you started right away, but okay. Well, let me focus, hone this into you, Barrett. You started right away. How much was your head swimming initially until it started, and how long did it take to smooth out until finally it seemed natural, more so than inconsistent?
It took at least almost halfway through the season.
Exactly.
To me, it took halfway through the season before the offense trust me enough that they can call the offense regularly.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I really thought that halfway through the season, they'd start calling and helping out Antoine Davis on the other side instead of trying to help me on the left side.
Interesting.
It was one of those things where here I am, I'm a rookie, and I got a tight end my side because they don't want to just sit me out to the wolves. I'm going against, Mr. White. I'm going against Derek Thomas and all those guys. But then I saw halfway through the season, they started calling plays where the strong side ended up being the right side, where they keep the tight end on his side to help him out more so they're helping me. And that's when I knew that, all right, things have slowed down enough that now Gruden trusts me enough to block one-on-one against these guys as opposed to always sending protection my way.
All right, let me throw this one at you. This comes from Vincent. Love the show. Any thoughts on Malik Willis coming here? First off, will he still be there at 15?
No.
I don't think so either. But if he was, do you think it's a possibility they would do it? And do you like him? Played at Liberty, by the way, for people who don't know. Big boy. Well, not big arm. He's not a tall guy. Big arm.
Huge arm. High ceiling as far as potential. As far as athleticism. He's a Jalen Hurts with a stronger arm.
Yeah.
Just not as big as Hurts is for thickness and body size. I don't think so. In fact, I don't think that they would take a chance on him. Would I like him in the locker room? I mean, I wouldn't be mad if they did draft him. But he's not a guy that's not going to play right now. We're talking about a guy that's still a developmental player. Kind of like the situation that's going on in San Fran. In fact, it's exactly the same situation going on in San Fran.
Yeah, Trey Lance.
And that's why I don't think they're going to trade the starter. I think he will be there because they don't quite trust Trey Lance to be the starter.
Yeah, it's a weird situation. Like Garoppolo was almost saying like goodbyes after the season ended.
Well, if he hadn't got hurt, he probably would be gone. But since he got hurt, his value wasn't as such that they were going to trade him because, like, all right, we'll just keep him here. It's not like we're paying, Lance a lot of money.
Right.
We'll just keep him here.
Yeah, it still seems awkward.
I think taking Malik Willis goes against what the Eagles have told us, that they're committed to this other young quarterback right now. You send a mixed signal like that, and then you have more controversy in camp than you know what to do with. Jalen Hurts doesn't need
when
that.
have they cared about that, man?
I understand it, but they don't need that right now. If you're going to develop this young man, you need to hone in on babysitting him right now.
Yes.
Draft another quarterback, a quarterback you want to develop in rounds 5, 6, 7. You got enough draft capital. Do that and see what you might find. See if you find a diamond in the rough down the road, in the draft. But you draft a quarterback like that high. We're in Philadelphia. What happens as soon as you draft him? The controversy begins. They're not going to do that now. Howie doesn't want to answer those questions. Yes, Howie doesn't want to answer those questions. Jeffrey doesn't want to answer those questions. Nick Sirianni doesn't want to answer those questions. That would be, how many national media would descend upon Philadelphia just to talk about why'd you take another quarterback that high?
Yeah, you're right back in that boat.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right
They
back
don't
there.
want to do that. That's the last thing they want.
No, and the Eagles are in a very unique position right now because they're not paying their quarterbacks anything.
No,
I mean,
right.
you have
No.
Minshew making nothing, backing up Jalen Hurts, who's making, by NFL standards, nothing. Like it's a time you should be able to take advantage of this. The Eagles did it before Wentz signed his new deal, but they're just
Minshew.
Yeah. Even one game against the Jets and everybody's in love with Gardner.
Right.
I mean,
No, I think they're in love with him more so because of the antics after the game in the parking lot with his father.
hugging his dad in his bomber jacket and his,
Oh, yeah,
his
his
Top
bomber
Gun
jacket.
jacket.
Pumping
We
the
talking about
fist.
Seth. That burnt Seth up to no end. Seth was so pissed off. I mean, this guy better act like a backup. He's the backup. He's the freaking backup. Why is all this attention on him? Oh man, Seth was so pissed about that, man. I didn't see anything about it, but I wouldn't think anything about it until a week later. I heard that he went in to say, "What, how can I?"
That's
become
what bothered
part of
me. I don't care that he's hugging his dad. Whatever.
Right,
That they have live it up, man. I mean, why not? But
That was his Super Bowl.
Right. That was no doubt, Gunner. Yeah, but to do the whole, hey, I'm the guy. Yeah, come on, man.
Right.
That to me is a little bit weak. And look, everybody handled it right. The beauty is, I really don't think Jalen Hurts is he's not like Wentz. He's not sensitive like Wentz in that sense. I really don't believe. I think he's very dialed in, man. And the outside stuff is just noise to him.
As it should be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's hyper focused. He understands that, all right, no matter what I do, I can go out there and win 15 games. They're still going to treat me the way they're treating me. You know what I'm saying? So I might as well just leave it alone, let them do what they want to do. But I'm going to go out there and take care of my business.
All right,
I'm going to play at the level.
Let's take care of our business. Let's get a quick timeout here. We come back to the Sixers, man. And Keith Pompey is up. He's in the Great White North right now.
Hey, man. Xander keeps telling us that these commercial breaks are 3 minutes. This is the fastest 3 minutes I've ever seen in my life. I barely have time to swallow a piece of beef jerky. I almost choked on one beef piece last segment. Hey, Xander, man, you better take time these commercials better, man. That's not 3 minutes.
Let's get Gunner a wambulance, man. There's a lot of crying going on.
Hey.
All right, so quick timeout. Let's see if Derek is still with us when we come back. If he didn't have any beef jerky issues, we'll see about that. Barrett, don't go anywhere. You don't go anywhere. Tell your friends, smash the like button. We come back from the Philadelphia Inquirer covering the Sixers. Keith Pompey.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
All right, did you know I was the mommy slam dunk champion?
Really?
Yes, really don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, I go to left, fake 'em out. Mama, go up, up, up.
She did it.
Again?
You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Sports Day. Happy Thursday, everybody. Rob Ellis, Barrett Brooks, Derek Gunn. All right, joining us now. You can follow him on Twitter at Pompey on Sixers. And, of course, check out all of his work, Inquirer.com. Or pick out a paper. Go grab one, man. And he's joining us from Toronto, Keith Pompey. Keith, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, our pleasure, Keith. Hey, it's not often an NBA game, let alone a playoff game, you turn the ball over 24 times, which leads to 27 points, 14 in the first half, and you still win, Keith. I mean, is this just as simple as Joel Embiid said, get on here, boys, and let's go?
You know, kind of, sort of, because, I mean, you were looking at it in the first half, and you're saying to yourself, like, okay, I know they're down, but they're coming back a little bit. They keep making mistakes. But Joel is playing, like, horrendously. Like, you know, he's horrible right now. And you don't think that that's going to, you know, be that way for the entire game. And I will say that he, you know, to me, it was more of, they also showed a lot of poise. I mean, you know, you guys know about sports, and especially sports in Philadelphia, and you've seen the Sixers before, and you always saw how when they start making mistakes and all of a sudden they just used to balloon, guys would get frustrated. And outside of Danny Green trying to beat up the official, they were cool, calm, and collected, you know.
Yeah, that was a pretty funny scene, though, with Tyrese and Harden trying to push him and get him up. He wouldn't even get off the court. But anyway, go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, Keith, give me your perspective on the way Doc Rivers has moved his chess pieces in this series. We have chastised, as everybody has, and criticized Doc throughout the course of the season. I thought he's done a very commendable job so far throughout the first 3 games of this series, but I want your inside perspective.
Yeah, I agree. You know, and, you know, the funny thing is, like, I tweeted out something like give him his flowers flow or something like that this morning, because when you look at it, you know, we all talk about that shot, but Doc Rivers basically saved that possession. I mean, he ran on the court. The people in Toronto up here upset because he ran on the court. But he ran on the court. He called that timeout. And then he, you know, came up with that play. I mean, as soon as he called the timeout, he said, give me my clipboard. And then they go over it. And, you know, he's basically, like, Nick Nurse is a great tactician. Mm-hmm. But Doc Rivers has seemed like that he's been, you know, one step ahead of him all series right now. And he's doing a very good job.
Yeah, on top of that, Nick Nurse doesn't have a guy guarding the ball, Keith, and that really allows a clean pass for Embiid to get that look.
Yeah, that was one of those things. And if you look at it, you know, you had Pascal Siakam trailing Maxey, and Maxey was basically, you know, these guys are running away from the play. And he gave him a clean look. Now, the one thing I'll say about Nick Nurse, and Doc Rivers has been doing a great job. I think, like, Nick kind of sort of knows that right about now, I don't have the horses to keep up with the Sixers or Embiid. So he's making these gambles. Now, if it works, we're all like, wow, great play. But when it doesn't work, you know, all of a sudden it's like, dude, you didn't have anybody going the inbounds pass. But at the same time, I feel like if he doesn't make gambles, if he doesn't complain to the refs, he just basically knows that Embiid's going to destroy him and just beat this, and the Sixers are going to beat him.
It's almost like no mas.
Yeah, it's no mas, basically. Yeah, basically.
Well, you know, when I looked at this game and the biggest take I got of it at the end of the game, even at the end of the game, I saw that this team is learning how to win. They're learning how to finish games. You know, I had a big problem, you know, with all these huge leads they'd be blowing, but it seems like everybody's taking their turn now. You know, yes, it's dominated by Embiid, but the supporting cast, like Harris, I can't believe Harris. I mean, even Harris is all right. He didn't light it up yesterday, but defensively, he's been there. He's doing it. He's hitting shots when he's supposed to hit shots. He's making himself available to be a contributor in this game. And I've thought that, you know, during the season, he kind of like sat back and just watched the rest of the Sixers play. Now he's starting to take a step in the right direction because I'm not getting enough from Harden.
Yeah, and you know what with Tobias is it's kind of like, and I'm not saying he wasn't bought in, but after Harden came, he basically said, "Hey, this is going to be my role. I have to protect. I mean, I have to do whatever I can that the coach says for me to do. You know what I mean? So, you know, and what that means is like that last play, setting the screen. You know, you're not always going to get your shot, but you can grab rebounds. I mean, these are something that, you know, the guy's 6'9", 6'10". This is something that all 6'10" guys can do. It's just all about will and want to. And I think that's what he's been doing. And you're right. You know, the thing about Harden is, you know, when we think of James Harden, everybody thinks of, you know, dribble, step back, three, shoot. Yeah, that. Well, that James Harden like isn't very good with the Sixers. He's better like getting you know, Joel involved, of course, getting Maxey involved, and Tobias Harris. So I think that with Harden trying to, you know, being that facilitator, and then the key is Tobias and Tyrese Maxey. When those two guys are both on, that what makes the Sixers tough to beat. I like that more so than there was a couple possessions yesterday where we saw Harden dribble, and then next thing you know, everybody else was standing around. I don't think the Sixers can beat a team if they do a lot of that.
Tempo.
I see it.
We got to have tempo. I mean, dribbling the ball up the court, just, you know, I don't want that from Harden. If you're gonna bring it up the court, let's get a little effort. You know, let's get the tempo going. You know, because that makes everybody else move. When you dribble up, everybody's standing around. It seems like when you slow ball walking up the court. But when you going, then everybody's moving and shaking. You know what I'm saying? I don't like when they just play that ball, the half court ball, where they're sitting back and, you know, let's go, let's run, let's have tempo. I think they play better in that capacity.
I agree 100%.
Hey, Keith, do you think Harden is overcompensating because of the hamstring? It's not talked about much, but, you know, we're so spoiled by seeing a certain style of play from a James Harden. You see flashes of it when he gets the dribble, he penetrates, dishes off, or flips up that floater. But we don't see it as consistent as we have in the past. Is that hamstring fully healed, or do you think he's overcompensating for that?
Now they keep saying it's overhealed. They keep saying that, but you know, you see the sleeve, and then sometimes you see the thing wrapped around his calf. So that's telling me that it's not. I think that, you know, it's one of those. I mean, Barry, you played. Suck it up, man. You got to suck it up and play. And if I can go out there and play, it's not an injury. And then also you can look at some of the shots that he's missing, that his lift isn't there. His legs, he's like pushing the ball. And his explosiveness is gone. So yeah, it's hampering him a little bit, but it's all not a little bit, a lot. But it's one of those things where they keep saying it's not. And he keeps saying, hey, I'm out there playing. I'm trying to, you know, do what I can. But, you know, the real test is going to be, you know, how he comes back next year, you know, to see if you know, just to see if he can blow by people, because he's been slow. He's been slow.
It's true. I think he's had a really good series, though, Keith, all things considered. He's you know, he's distributing. I think he and Maxey are starting to really vibe together. There were a couple moments. You see the flashes sometimes when he can finish around the bucket, but I think all in all, he's played well.
I agree. It's funny because, you know, we go to the Raptors shoot around yesterday, and the first person there was Fred VanVleet. And they said, people were telling me, yo, this is the most honest dude around. Like, you will love him. So he's basically saying, we need James Harden to take over the game. We want James Harden to try to get they basically know, like, the stuff that we're just talking about. But at the same time, with him being a facilitator, he's like, he's finding everyone, and he's kind of frustrating them. So it was a conscious thing of them to just attack, blitz Maxey, blitz Tobias, and they wanted James to just be ISO James. So that, you know, that says a lot about his passing ability, and it has been on point. Now, that's one thing I will tell y'all. I didn't know he had that in this game. I was so used to seeing, you know, boom, 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 boom. And then now you start seeing him making the right passes. You start seeing him being a leader on the floor. Like like think about Danny. He was one of the guys that got in Danny's face, like, "Yo, you're not going to blow this for us." Telling Tobias, "You need to shoot." So there are some leadership qualities that he has that are enabling him to be extremely effective when his shot isn't falling.
Well, let me ask you this, man. Embiid, you know, and I mean, elbow, wrist, whatever. I mean, is he gonna be okay? Is he all right, man?
Yeah, I think he will. I mean, the thing about Embiid, you ever notice, like, have you ever walked out of a game and Embiid something wasn't wrong with him?
Right.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like in his 2 days, have you ever? So I think he'll be fine. I mean, you know, I think he knows what's at stake. And also I think that he hears the whispers. You know, there's always been one of those things where, you know, Joel Embiid is a great player, but he's fragile.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So I think the biggest but now is like, bruh, you was talking all this stuff about to Drake, like, we're going to sweep. You was telling Nick Nurse, stop whining, I'm going to say. And now you mean to tell me you got a boo-boo after you hit a three with that boo-boo and you can't play? You know? So I think Embiid's going to play this game.
Do you think they finish him off on Saturday, Keith? Do you think it's a sweep?
You know, that's a great question, man, because, you know, they got 2 nights in Toronto, right? After everybody's telling you how great you are.
Which is a fun town, by the way.
Yeah,
people have been in Toronto.
Yeah,
you can do some damage in Toronto.
You can do a lot of damage in Toronto.
Yep.
So you know,
I've been told.
I was hoping that Doc, since you know it's an hour flight, flying back to Philly, right? But they don't want to go through customs, right?
Yeah, I hear you.
But you know, I don't know. I do think that they'll find a way, but I wouldn't be surprised if this series extended to 5, just because we're in Toronto for 2 days.
Yeah. Kind of like the Miami effect.
Yeah.
Bro, you just don't understand, man. Being in places like that and you have a little bit more time, bro, and we know Harden. We know Harden. Everybody knows Harden, you know what I'm saying?
Steakhouses, a lot of steakhouses.
hey, Keith,
a lot of wings. You say a lot of wings. What do you call it? Lemon pepper.
A lot of beef to get.
The best wings. They got the best wings here, man.
Yeah, man.
Hey, Keith, can you talk about the maturation of Maxey? I mean, you know, this kid's got ice water in his veins. The way he's playing right now, and I think by Harden being less than James Harden has really helped Maxey enhance his game and gain that much more confidence.
I agree 100%. I mean, the first thing I'm going to talk about Maxey, I remember last year it was Summer League, right? And like it was after the season, and you know we're getting ready for Summer League. So I said, "Yo, man, what you do this summer?" He said, "Man, I've been doing 6-a-days." I like 6-a-days. He like, "Yeah, I work out 6 times a day." I'm like, "No, what you mean, like different things?" "Nah, I keep going to the gym 6 times a day." So you're like, "Wow, this guy is different," right? So you know, so that tells you a lot about him, and his girlfriend is a basketball player too. So what they do is they go on the court and work out together. So like that's how this guy is, and you are 100% right. It's kind of sort of like, and he's fortunate to have a guy like James, because you know James isn't like one of those guys that's saying, "Hey, I still want to be the top dog." He sees this young guy who can basically help him in regards to helping his assists, doing all this other stuff. So they've been utilizing Maxey in a way that they haven't before. Last year was all about the floater. You know, early in the season, they had him running the point. But when James came here, it's kind of like, yo, you got to utilize your speed. We're going to kick the ball out there, and you just go to work to you. And, you know, I think that has been the key, his maturation. And, you know, it's one of those things now when you have a guy like Tyrese Maxey getting to the cup, doing the things that he's doing, all that does is the traffic that Joel used to always see, it kind of makes it shift a little bit, because if not, Maxey's going to kill you. And then that enables Joel to get some, you know what I mean, some one-on-one situations that he wouldn't have normally received in the past.
So what concerns you, Keith? Obviously, they're up 3-0. Embiid, unbelievable second half. A lot of good things we mentioned, Doc and Tobias. Biggest concern going forward, and we could say this, they can't. Let's assume you get past the Raptors. you're going to have to get by likely the Heat and or the Celtics or Nets. What concerns you the most?
Well, there's two things. One thing that always concerns me with the 76ers is overconfidence. Because how many times have we seen the Sixers, like, we all say, oh, they arrived. And then next thing you know, that next game, they like take it a little easy and they lay a clunker, right? So that's a big thing, the Sixers. Because around the NBA, the Sixers have a reputation of being a team that defeats itself. That's what people think, right? The second thing is, when you go up against Miami, that's a physical team. I mean, you have the Markieff Morris, you have Kyle Lowry, two guys from Philly, you have Jimmy Butler, and what they're going to try to do is they're going to think they were playing with the Eagles and the Steelers, and they're going to try to get physical, and they're going to, excuse my French, I ain't going to say it, but they're going to try to intimidate the Sixers. So what we're going to see is they're going to have to step up, and they're going to have to give it back to that team. Because when you look at the talent level, you see Tobias, you have James, you have Joel. These guys, Maxey, they're extremely talented. But they have to know that these dudes, when they get down there, they're going to be physical, and they're going to try to, they're going to toe the line, but they're going to knock them around. They're going to do whatever they can just to get in their head. And they've been doing that to the Sixers, the Miami Heat, in the past. So it's one of those things where they got to know that they got to man up and come physical and be ready for, I don't want to say war, but, a real tough contest.
Can the Sixers play that style of ball? Can they and be successful?
Game 2.
It is a different thing, though. See, here's the thing about Barrett, the thing that stood out to me in game 2, and I'll answer your question. You remember when, they were physical, they were popping them, and then when Embiid got in my man's face, it stopped. But at the end of the game, Embiid went over there and said, I respectfully told him to stop whining. Yeah. That's not respectful. Now, if that was if that was the Miami Heat and somebody went over to the Miami Heat coach and said that, Haslam would have came off the bench.
Right. Would have got his walker out and hit him over the head with it.
Yeah, they would have came off the head. So to me, I'm like, hold up, y'all. Y'all gonna let this dude respect your coach? So, you know what I mean? So again, is a different type of animal. Is a different time they're going to go. So can they do it? Well, we're about to figure out. They do have James. They do have Paul Millsap. Now, I know Paul Millsap doesn't play. They also have Jordan, who doesn't play a lot. But I kind of think that these guys are going to look at some dudes and be like, look, bro, you ain't going to let him push you around. So we'll see. We'll see. And I'm going to tell you this. In the past, they didn't have it. They were too nice. And they got pushed around. And what teams used to do, think about, there was one game in particular with Miami. The Sixers were having a real good game, and they went after the heads of the snake. They went after Embiid, and then they went after Dwight Howard. And after that, the Sixers folded. So to me, this is going to be a good test to see if they grew up in that type of way.
And Jimmy's still pissed off. He let him go. They picked him over Simmons. So I see it, man. I see a physical game, but like I said, it's a maturation process that this 76ers team is going through right now. And not jumping over it and looking towards some, another matchup or anything like that. Going into this game, they got to learn how to finish. And this, last night was the stepping stone of learning how to finish. Going in, and if they win this Saturday, it is only going to make them more confident. And confidence is the thing that they've lacked in the past. They almost beat Kawhi Leonard. You know what I'm saying? They almost beat Kawhi Leonard. They almost beat the Hawks. That almost stuff don't do anything. We're not playing horseshoes. You know what I'm saying? We want to make sure that we go out there and impose our will and be a confident team. And even though we didn't finish number 1 in the conference, we're definitely a team that you have to gear up to beat. So it should be a change in their mindset that, all right, you have to beat us. We don't have to beat you.
Yeah, I agree. That's what. But you know what? They're saying this is the mentality that Doc Rivers is bringing to the organization. And then you look at James. Now I know James really hasn't won anything. You know, Doc won the one title, but then they also have a guy who they can depend on in Danny Green. He has 3 rings, right? So they can depend on him. But yeah, but again, it's all about Embiid. I mean, you know, if Embiid can stay healthy, if he can find ways to dominate and then draw that attention and then kick the ball out and other guys do their roles, you know, they can be successful. They can. Now, the one thing I will say, y'all, like, they're going to have so much pressure on them in the next round. You're going to have James Harden where people are saying, oh, the second round is where he starts to struggle, right? Joel has never been out of the second round. Doc Rivers is the king of blowing 3-1 leads, they're going to say. So for everyone, it's going to be that pressure. And then when you look at the Sixers, you know, I think the last time they got out of the second round was in 2001 when they won the championship, right? I mean, won the Eastern Conference championship. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on them. And like you said, you know, they got to bring the toughness, and they also have to, you know, settle down and lock in and do all the things, because, you know, that's going to be the storylines. Can they do it? Can Doc do it? If they go up 2-1, are we going here again? You know, things like that.
Right.
Hey, speaking of Doc Rivers, we hear so many rumors in the whisper mills about Doc Rivers being on a hot seat. How deep does he have to go into the playoffs to where his job secure for next season?
You know, that's a great question, because, you know, I keep going back and forth with that, because, you know, you look at Brett Brown, who's still getting paid this season. He comes off the books next year. Doc Rivers still has 3 years left for $24 million, right? In those 3 years. Are the Sixers willing to give this guy $24 million? Now, if he gets another coaching job, okay, their team might take it up. But are they willing to eat all that money? You know, so that's the main question. You know, and secondly, you know, you look at it, and I always felt like, you know, if James Harden is struggling, if he's struggling mightily, which he isn't right now, but if he was struggling mightily, let's say in the second round, is that Doc Rivers' fault?
Right.
If James is missing shots, you know, and you know, so the thing is, I think that he has shown us something. Like, if he wasn't coaching the way he is, I felt like, you know, he would have to get out at least the second round to save his job. And it still could be that way. But at the same time, when you look at it and you talk about the Ben Simmons situation, you talk about how Harden came and it's taken a while to find his way. Is that like really a good choice to fire this guy over that? I mean, because he gets smart with the media, you know what I mean? I don't think that's a good choice. And I love D'Antoni, but at the same time, it just seems like, you know, you got Doc Rivers. People question some of the things that he does and coaching wise, but at the same time, y'all, he's showing us that he knows a little something, and he's been playing well, coaching well in this series.
Keith, I just for a second want to jump over to the Celtics and the Nets.
Okay.
And Boston's up 2-0 right now. I know obviously you were locked in on the Sixers last night, but it was a rough night for Durant. It was a rough night for Kyrie, and Boston's defense is obviously phenomenal, and that plays into this in a big way. Reports today say Simmons is going to try to come back and play game 4, which I think is Monday.
Yeah.
That's a tough spot you're dropping anybody into against that in this pressure cooker when you're likely going to be down. You're definitely going to be down in this series against the best defensive team in the NBA. Is that a good move by Brooklyn? Is it a desperation move?
I don't like it. I mean, I don't like it. I do think it's kind of like a desperation move. And the reason why I don't like it is because, you know, regular season, Ben Simmons is an all-star, right? He gets out there, he does a lot of things, you know, but in the playoffs, it's more of a half-court game. This guy has yet to play all season. So we're going to find out, the Bostons are going to make us find out quickly how Ben Simmons got over his horrid free throw shooting. Or is he scared to, like, you know, to have the ball in his hands late in the game? I mean, to me, you just put the guy on the spot. You know what I mean? And Ime was a Sixers assistant. A lot of these guys, he knows Brooklyn. He knows Ben Simmons. like to me, I don't know if I'm bringing a guy back without having him play in any other games in game 3 with my team down 2-0, because I just feel like that's the easy way. Yo, let's put him at the foul line. Let's make. I don't know.
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
Crazy, huh?
Yeah, why wouldn't you do that? I mean, it's just smart. It's good basketball.
And you get fired nowadays for not doing it.
But no, but here's the other thing. The thought process is that the ball's not going to find him. They're tripling Durant. You know, they're doubling Kyrie every time. They got to kick the ball. If that's the case, it's going to find him.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, like, they say the ball is not going to find him. Like, Ben Simmons' game is predicated on him having the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, like when he doesn't have the ball, he gets lost. You're basically playing 4-on-5, right? So he needs the ball in his hands to distribute, to set teammates up. And then I get it, you know, you want to put them on people and be a good defender. But, like, you know, even if you just have him out there, I mean, you might be better just playing another one of your guards as opposed to him, because at least that person is going to step in and knock down a 3. You know, Ben Simmons just standing in the corner. It's like, okay, yeah, he's over there, but until he hits 5 of them in a row,
I'm leaving him there.
I'm gonna go over there and guard him.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Hey, Keith,
I don't think so.
Hey, Keith, you brought up something a moment ago about Doc Rivers and his relationship with the media. Your thoughts on how he can be flippant with the media at one point and then try to be buddy with the media the next? Do you think at some point he's starting to feel the heat, the outside heat, so to speak?
You know, at one point I did think so. I felt like, you know, he knew that there was a certain point where the team was kind of like underachieving a little bit, and you know, he would get a little frustrated. There's also been certain times where, and Doc, you know, Doc has a point. And what I'm gonna say this is, like, you know, Doc Rivers just picked up his 101 victory, like 101 victory. You know, that's 4th all time in playoffs. But no one asked him a question about it. You know what I mean? So, like, I feel like sometimes he feels a little like, you know what I mean, like a little disrespected at times. But then whenever they make mistakes, he's always, you know, being asked about it. But I will say, like, this market is different from the LA market. Like, you know, LA is all about the Lakers, the Clippers, you know, your Doc Rivers, you're charismatic, you know, everyone loves you. So he's not getting asked all these questions. And I think a lot of times, you know, what Doc does is when he talks about a player and he snaps on someone, people don't know that Doc is really trying to protect that player, but it comes off like wrong. You know what I mean? It comes off wrong. Now, the one thing I will say with y'all, and I'm going to share this story with y'all about a coach. When I was covering Temple, I remember one day at practice, Fran Dumpy snapped into me. Like, he really like won off on me, right? And the funny part was, after the game, this was the day before the game. So after the game, he comes over and he apologizes. And I said, nah, coach, I'm good. I felt like I was part of the team. Because what Fran would do was, Fran would, like, earlier in the week, he was cool. But you can tell, like, when he got locked in, his attitude changed a little bit. So, like, to me, I'm like, you yelling at them, you can yell at me for what I wrote. I don't care. We're good. You know what I mean? But with Doc, I think, like, you get some of that. And then there have been certain people in the media who have been taking a lot of shots at him. You know what I mean? A lot of shots at him.
Deservedly so.
Yeah, but some of them is, like, it's okay.
Out of bounds, man.
Some of them be out of bounds. But here's the deal. So the deal, look, I'm gonna ask y'all. And I'm like, okay, so you guys are all journalists, right? So if you wrote something,
except Barrett,
yeah. So if you wrote something or if you said something, they always told you to make a point to show up the next day, show your face, right? And even like Barrett, like, you know, you're a journalist too, but when you played, if somebody wrote something and they didn't show up the next day, you kind of like, come on, man.
I'm looking for him.
You're looking for him. Yeah. And you don't even have to say anything. Just show up. Yeah. And like, I think there's been certain people who have taken some shots at him and they don't show up, or they don't even ask questions. But when they go on Twitter, they're tweeting and killing them. And what happens is they all say they don't read it, but it always gets back to them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some of these people like where I feel like sometimes it's his way of, oh, I got to get you.
Right.
Gotcha.
He's only human. You know what I'm saying? He's only human.
Yeah.
Keith, man, great stuff. It was really good catching up with you, man. And have some fun tonight. All right. And call Derek if you need bail money.
Yeah, if you need bail money, man, I'll wire you some money, man. I got a few coins in my pocket.
Bro, go hang out with Harden, dog.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
I still want you to be to work tomorrow. On Saturday. But
Keith does all right, but I don't know if he can roll that way with Harden. We'll see. We'll see, man.
They're gonna be like, you brought him?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Keith, thanks, man. We really appreciate it. Keep up the good work. All right.
Thanks for having me, y'all.
All right, you got it.
Good,
That's
man.
Keith Pompey from the Philadelphia Inquirer. Keith does an excellent job, man. Check him out, Inquirer.com. All right, let's take a timeout. We'll come back. We will get it back to the Eagles, and we'll mix in little Phillies. I've been teasing it all show. They actually won. It's, we have to celebrate a Phillies victory. It's one of 162 or something like that. Anyway, we come back. Sports Take. He's Barrett. He's Derek. I'm Rob. JAKIB Media YouTube Network.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
All right, did you know I was the mommy slam dunk champion?
Really?
Yes, really don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, I go to left, fake 'em out. Mama, go up.
She did it.
Again?
You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Yeah, baby. Welcome back in. Final segment, man. Time flies, as they say, when you're having fun. That's for sure. Barrett Brooks, Derek Gunn, Rob Ellis, Sports Take, JAKIB Media YouTube Network. And tomorrow, I'm looking forward to this tomorrow, guys. We're going to have James Palmer on from the NFL Network.
Mm-hmm.
James is going to join us. So if the name sounds familiar, son of Scott Palmer, but James has been at the NFL Network for a long time now. He will be next week in Philadelphia, and he'll be essentially their Eagles reporter. So he will be all over the bird. So he's well-versed on what's going on with them, who they may draft So we'll be talking to him tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So you want to stay tuned for that for sure. All right, so we'll get back to the Birds in a second because I want to hit you with a couple other names that I had on my big board, as they say. But let's hit a little Phillies here because they did win. They beat the Rockies 9-6. The Bats actually came alive, believe it or not. 4 home runs yesterday. How about this one? Johan Camargo, 4 hits. He had a 3-run home run. The Phillies had a monster, a 5-inning 7th. They hold on, they stop the bleeding, and at least they get on a plane to come back to Philly yesterday with a good taste in their mouth.
It's about time, man. They needed that, man, in the worst way. Bats heated up. And you know, we all know we're going to fall short in the bullpen. But we at least thought we were going to have, you know, some scoring, every night consistently, you know what I'm saying? Especially with the DH here now. I mean, I thought we were going to be good.
Yeah. I'm not ready to say I think the Bats, I'm not worried about the Bats as much. The thing with them is they're a weirdly constructed team in that they're not a good defensive team. It feels like they have about 7 guys who should be playing DH and not being in the field.
Yes.
It's not great. The starters haven't been good enough for the most part, and the bullpen on this trip hurt them too. It's really been a complete failure. I mean, sometimes you say, oh, it's a team loss. It's been, everywhere you can point has been bad. I got to imagine when you have this kind of proven track record as far as offense goes, that they're going to get better, at least start hitting more consistently, like we saw yesterday.
Yeah, but you can't win all your games by softball scores. They're not going to score 9 runs every night. And when they're in low run scoring games, I'm extremely concerned about this pitching staff.
Yep.
I mean, you look at what happened with Zach Eflin yesterday. He went 5 2/3, but he gives up 9 hits and 4 runs. And, when the Eagles went up, when the Phillies went up on them 9-4, they still allowed them to make it a game, come back and make it 9-6.
Oh, yeah.
You can't trust the bullpen. The starting pitching is not kicked in the way you thought it would. Again, the other day, Nola pitched a great game, and then all of a sudden the bullpen almost gives it away.
Mm-hmm.
Zach Wheeler still isn't where we hope he's going to be, and we expect him to be. But so I have some concerns. You can score 10 runs every night. I said, okay, they're going to win the majority of their games just based on their bats alone, but that's not how the game is played.
Yeah.
You got to get some stellar pitching in there, man, and it's not happening right now.
It's a tough way to go every night when you got to outslug teams. Even in this day and age, man, it is not an easy thing, that's for sure. But look, there's high expectations for this team. There's a big payroll. They went over the luxury tax. There's a lot of things coming into play here that's putting pressure on this bunch. I mean, I found it interesting yesterday. Joe Girardi, when initially at least the thought was that he was going to sit JT Realmuto. He wasn't going to catch him, give him the day off. He was in the lineup, but he was catching yesterday. There was a little bit of sense of urgency despite how early this thing is.
Yeah. I look at their schedule coming up also. And with the way they're playing right now, this is not easy. They're home. They got Milwaukee for 3. Milwaukee's playing good ball right now.
Mm-hmm.
You got Colorado for 4. They just lost 2 out of 3 to Colorado.
And Colorado's been a lot better than people thought they were going to be so far this year.
Especially me. I thought they were going to be an okay team. I didn't expect them to jump out of the gate like this. Then you got to go to New York and play the Mets for 3. And the Mets pitching staff has been on point. The Mets pitching staff is why they're 9-4 right now. They've gotten timely hits, but the Mets. Okay, Texas is 2-9. Texas is what it is. After that, you got the Mets again for 4 games.
Yep.
Then you got to go out to Seattle. Seattle's playing decent ball. And then you got to play the team with the best record in the majors right now, the Dodgers, on the West Coast for 4 games. So this next 30 days is going to be real interesting for this Phillies team, man.
Yeah.
And as we all know, as quick as fans jump on the bandwagon for this team is as quick as they'll jump off.
No doubt. Absolutely no doubt.
But see, I'm not so worried about, the bandwagon. I'm more so worried about this team was constructed to score. And, I think it's either or. You're going to score or you're going to get good pitching. I mean, I don't think that they plan on getting any good pitching. But to not have any offense and have guys they just fall so short. We've been talking about getting a center fielder for the past 3 years. We haven't done it.
Mm-hmm.
We've been talking about the bullpen being less than adequate. Oh, when Seranthony Dominguez comes back, we'll be good. We're still not. I I'm not gonna get so, you know, because they're over the luxury tax. I'm glad Middleton went out there and you know he's making some things happen. But I still don't see us going in the direction we need to go to have me jump on the bandwagon.
I hear you. Look, and that's very
on the bandwagon. Yeah.
That's for sure. So they're off tonight. They're back at it, as Derek mentioned, over the weekend. And then it's a Milwaukee, Colorado double dip there for those two series. All right, so back to the Birds here. And we were talking about the draft a little bit earlier. What they may end up doing.
I'm sorry, man. D-Gun, can you give me a little more energy? Alexander Freeman said,
"Man, I ain't thinking about what Alexander said, man."
No.
I saw that comment. I'm not thinking about what Alexander said.
Oh,
man.
No, Alexander, shots fired, man.
Look,
Look at that old.
I got a laptop here. I'm looking at you guys with. I got a laptop over here. I'm pulling up stats. I got my phone buzzing because I'm texting people, you know, players and people. I'm not thinking about what he's saying, man. You think I care about that? Do you honestly think I care about that? But they have no idea what I'm doing over here, man. Look, I got a phone working over here. You know, I got a laptop working over here. I got a laptop. You know what? You know, just keep chirping. Keep chirping.
Now Jeremiah's turning on me. I thought we were friends, man. I'm getting it too. I'm getting shrapnel from the gunner.
Hey, look, man. I don't listen to it, man. You know, I love some of the poignant comments that we've gotten on this show that we get on this show. You know, and some people just, you know, say stuff just to see if they can get attention. And you gave them attention, Barry. So kudos to you.
I did too. Yeah.
You know, kudos to you, Barry. You gave them attention.
By the way,
this buzz for you.
What is that a keg? What are you drinking?
It's a stateside keg.
Yeah,
that thing is gigantic. So
yeah, I get thirsty.
I'm drinking this, and Barrett's got that. Like, what's going on here?
Plus, you're drinking lukewarm water.
That's gin, man. That's straight gin. Keep believing that's water.
I'm working with two alcoholics.
Exactly right. All right. So as I mentioned before, we started taking shots fired here from our listeners and viewers. And by the way, pound that like button.
Pound it.
So we were talking about the draft. We touched on, we hit wide receiver. We talked about linebackers. I got to dive into the defensive line. I'm obsessed with Jordan Davis. I'm just straight up. I want him to be there. I want him to be an Eagle. I love him. Who are your favorite defensive linemen?
I told you guys yesterday, I love Jermaine Johnson. You know,
Florida State. Yep.
I'm a big Jermaine Johnson fan. For him to make that transition, you know, to jump from Georgia and go to Florida and be as dominant as he was from one year to the next, that tells me he's a high caliber player. It doesn't make a difference where you play him. He loves to play football. That's the bottom line.
Yep.
And he was recognized as one of the better players in this conference. Okay. So I love that kid. Now, you know, I know we talked about what's his name, Ohabo from Michigan.
The kid who tore his Achilles in the
Ojabo, yeah.
Ojabo, yeah. Okay. I like the guy, but see, the thing that comes back to me is this: is he that good, or is he a product of what Aiden Hutchinson was doing on the other side?
Good question.
Is he that good?
He was sort of a one-year wonder. Like he had a great year, last year.
Because Hutchinson got so much attention on the other side,
yeah,
that freed him up to do some things. Is he that good? We come across players like that all the time, right, Bear?
Yep,
right. One guy's a star on one side, the other player elevates his status because of the play of the other guy, and then he doesn't turn out to be as great of a pro player as you thought he would, based on what you saw him do in college. And oh, by the way, that guy who was on the other side of him in college, not there in the pros now. So now you singled out. Your game's more magnified. Didn't live up to expectations. But I'm just a big fan of Jermaine Johnson. Every time I look at this kid on film, I'm like, man, his ability to shed blocks, his first step off the ball, the bounce off blocks, get to the outside for containment. I just love everything about this kid. I hope he's a Philadelphia Eagle.
Barrett, do you like the other kid at Georgia, Devontae Wyatt?
I love Wyatt.
6'2", 304. He's a 3-technique guy, runs a 4.7 40. I mean, by the way, the recruiting at Georgia on the defensive side, are you kidding me, man?
It's sick.
They paying money, man.
Whatever they're doing.
Kirby, man, paying that money, man. And that's what it is. Wyatt is – I watched a whole lot of film on that defense, man. I mean, I broke that defense down, and a lot of people don't understand. It was Walker and Wyatt which made that whole team work, the defensive side work, man. Wyatt up the middle. A lot of reason why you saw a lot of Jordan Davis one-on-one and beating guys one-on-one is because they were double teaming on Wyatt. A lot of offensive coordinators would say, all right, then who are we going to stop? Well, Jordan Davis is 340 pounds. We need to get him 6'7", 6'8". We need to get him going. No, they got Wyatt because Wyatt was a force. Wyatt ran a 4.7 at 300 pounds. He got pass rusher moves. He can redirect. They use him as a spy also. He also spied quarterbacks. He is an explosive player. He will be a guy that's going to play for years and years and years. He's going to play at a level like above Fletcher Cox. This kid is good, man. But when you saw the 3 clips they always show of Jordan Davis, those 3 or 4 clips where he's, running guys down from the sideline to the sideline, yes, those are impressive. But when you watch Wyatt did the same exact thing, had more of an impact on that defense. He was that cog that made that whole machine run, man. I'm telling you, man.
So you like him better than Davis?
I like him better than Davis. He's my pick. If I was going to get,
and these are interior guys we're talking about. We're not talking edge guys, but you could. I'm sure with the athleticism, you could move either of them out every once in a while.
No question. You could definitely play Wyatt anywhere. You could also play Walker everywhere. He can come in and play in the interior also. Put him in at the 3 technique and put him on the outside. Wyatt that'd be a perfect analysis on how you see Wyatt play. He's got that jump swim move to the outside, get up the field, and still have that ankle bend to turn the corner, turn the arc to pass rush the quarterback. I'm telling you, he was damn good, man. But when you just like what you said, Derek, you said, all right, is Ojabo the product of Hutchinson? Well, man, you can say everything about that whole defense of Georgia. You got Walker, you got Davis, you got Wyatt,
Dean,
Sin,
really good defensive backs.
And then the other Walker, Quay Walker, linebacker. He should be a first rounder also, but he got
6'3", 241.
Right. He got overshadowed by the other guys. You know what I'm saying? So, bruh, when I say that defense, all you got to do is go like this and throw a dartboard, and that's how we have a first rounder and pick whoever he wants from that Georgia team.
Hey, just to divert off of this for a second, because I want to stay on the defensive line for the Eagles. How surprised were you guys they brought Fletcher Cox back at what they brought him back, the kind of money?
I think that's the going rate. It's not necessary. We're thinking dollars and cents of what we think that defensive players are being paid. But when you look at it, everything is kind of slotted. And when you look at the slot that Fletcher Cox is in, he's making below fair market value for his position. Like it or not, people still view Fletcher Cox as one of the top 10 defensive linemen in football. We see it because we watch him every day. We watch the games, all the games, so we don't see the production. But everybody else outside of Philadelphia, they think that Fletcher Cox is like, along the same lines of AD. You know what I'm saying? Wow. Aaron Donald. So he's probably making under fair market value. Seriously, when you look at that deal, for him to go from making $18 million to $14 million, how we made it a great deal for the Eagles. It's a proven deal, that he deserves more money. We'll see if he deserves more money. This is going to give him a little more incentive to play harder. But I'm looking to see what he does, man, because to me, he's going to have to go out there and play like he played when he was younger to get the deal and get the money that he's going to require everybody to pay him when he goes into next year's free agency.
I don't know if that's there.
Every time I've asked somebody about Fletcher Cox in the organization, do you think he's starting to slip? They've all said the same thing consistently. He said people on the outside looking in don't see, what he does to free up other people to make a play for us. Fletcher Cox is asked to do a lot of the dirty work that doesn't get noticed in the stats.
Yep.
We're so stat conscious a lot of time. And people try to compare him to an Aaron Donald. Well, he doesn't play the same game as an Aaron Donald does. But Fletcher Cox commands double teams, which allows another DN, a D tackle, a linebacker to do certain things. It's a dirty job, but obviously it's a job the Eagles feel is worth the money they're still paying him, because I guarantee if they didn't think he was worth the money, he would not, even though he took a $4 million pay cut, he would not be here if the Eagles didn't feel he was still worth. And as Barrett said, you know, there are teams on the outside looking in that still think Fletcher Cox is one of the best D tackles in the game today. So obviously the Eagles recognize that, and that's why they kept him here.
My question is, what do they view as more of a priority? Because Fletcher's getting up there. We know Brandon Graham's getting up there, but they brought in Reddick, who, you know, he's kind of a hybrid, whatever. The edge or the interior? What's a bigger need for this Eagles team, do you think, in their eyes?
That's tough.
I think they believe the D tackle position sets the standard for the rest of the defense, because they bring in a Javon Hargrave who's similar to a Fletcher Cox in the sense that they can eat up a lot of the offensive line play, which can allow them to play games doing some other things. And you know, you put those two guys side by side, that's a load to deal with for any offensive line. When you got to constantly worry about which guy you're going to double team in any given moment, you know, that disrupts a lot of things that you want to do. I mean, Barrett, am I right or wrong?
Absolutely, man.
So I think that they are a team that thinks that if we have two stout D tackles or a trio of stout D tackles, you got a couple in Milton Williams also.
Yeah, he had a really good year.
You know, he had a good year now.
Yeah, he did.
So you got that trio, you got that Bermuda Triangle right there. That allows you to do a lot of different things on the outside. So they like to start with the interior in the trenches in the tackle position, then the edge. Linebackers are just, you know, that's an afterthought, and then the secondary.
Interesting. Barrett, we have a question from Harold. He asks, where do you think James Houston from JSU will go in the draft?
I got to look a little more film of him. They need like a more so a DN, like linebacker type of guy.
Yeah.
He has all the intangible, but, you know, we're talking about guys that are playing in you know, a situation where he didn't have the big tackles that he's usually dealing with.
He's going to be dealing with.
Yeah. I mean, you put him in an SEC offensive line or Big Ten offensive line. I don't know if he can rush the passer like that. But, I mean, you're talking about all the athletic talent in the world. And he'll learn. He can definitely learn. But because he has all the athletic talent that you need to learn that position.
I'll throw a name.
Great size.
Baldy talked about this guy. Just a reminder, when we had Baldy on, I think it was Monday. Chad Muma of Wyoming. He loves him. 6'2", 239. Had 142 tackles in 13 games last year. Now, it's Wyoming. Take it for what it is, but Baldy said he really liked what he saw on film of that guy.
He's like a Van Der Esch. You know,
he's that type. Okay.
He's gonna go out there. He's not gonna make a big splash, but he's gonna be on every single tackle, bro. Reminds me a lot of Luke Kuechly.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? A Luke Kuechly-esque player. And I'm not just saying, you know, just white guys, but I'm talking about consistent guys that go make plays all the time. He's not on a Bobby Wagner type of level, but he's one of those consistent guys, you know, he's going to go out there and make a play, and he's going to assure the tackle every time he can, bro.
How high are they prioritizing corner? I mean, we know, you know, what the situation is with Slay, who had an unbelievable season for them last year, but you know, you feel like that's another area you got to look at. Slay's not the youngest guy in the world. There's other issues there.
Nelson leaving free agency.
Nelson's gone, right? Yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh, it's a high priority. There's no question. It's a high priority. The problem is the cornerback position is not as deep as it has been in recent draft classes. So if the top 2 or 3 corners are gone before you get to the Eagles, then they're going to have to sit back and say, okay, we can get value with a quarterback we can develop, you know, in rounds 2 or 3. So then that priority is pushed to another position.
I don't know, Derek.
Huh?
I might say it might work in the opposite of that.
In terms of
if those corners start leaving, they might pull a Jalen Reagor and jump up and get a guy that doesn't necessarily need to be drafted right there.
You can't. Don't reach, man.
They might reach on that. If they see these guys start leaving, like
don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
You know they're gonna do it, bro.
Don't do it.
They're gonna do it.
Don't do it. You don't need a development, and I can't emphasize this enough. With this draft the Eagles have coming up, you don't need development players. You need the first couple of picks need to be players that you will get some impact from right away.
This is not Lito Shepherd and Sheldon Brown waiting in the wings. This is get in there right now.
No, and that's why I say, you know what, offensive line, they love offensive linemen. I don't care who the coach is. This organization loves offensive linemen, but offensive lineman is not a top priority for this team right now. They can be successful with the collection of offensive linemen they have right now, even minus a Brandon Brooks.
Right. But
Pass catchers priority. DN's a priority. Linebackers a priority. Corners a priority. Those are your main priority. You got to get plug-and-play players right now that they can give you something. Not sit and watch players, but plug-and-play players.
What about the safety position? We're not even talking about the safety position. We got one safety right now.
Yep.
Everybody else is just, guys they hope go out there and ball,
They're real thin on the back end, man.
Yeah.
Like
they are.
We rightfully so are focusing on the defensive line for a lot of reasons. One, because it's very deep in the draft, and two, if you don't get to the quarterback, it doesn't matter who's back there. But they are very thin back there. Slay's a man on an island, man, in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And Epps is not the answer. I'm sorry.
No.
He may develop, but he's still in the developmental stages. He's not the answer back there right now.
Well, there's the problem. See, that's the problem right there, guys.
Yeah.
That's the problem right there. You talk about Gannon, and Gannon, is saying that he's less than he's less than what you want as far as a play caller. But the hell, look what he's got to work with. You look at his back end. Kayvon Wallace is penciled in as a starter right now.
Yeah.
So right now it's Anthony Harris, Kayvon Wallace. Starting, corner opposite of Big Play Slay. Zach McPherson.
No.
Man, that's what we got. Maddox
is a pretty high pick last year, too.
Fourth round.
I still believe that once the draft is all said and done, and the Eagles see what they have, they're gonna sign a few of these low tier veteran free agents to come in here, and you may have another Nelson playing opposite Darius Slay. If they don't get what they want in the draft in terms of another young cornerback they feel is talented enough to plug and play right now, you may see another one year contract for somebody coming in here to play opposite Slay again.
That's tough because there's not a lot of guys out there.
I know, man.
They lunched on free agency this year really bad, man.
But whatever they get, Barrett, I believe is still better than what they already have in camp. I hate to say that, but Rob Ellis can come out of retirement and play cornerback for him.
We're not that desperate, man.
Stop telling me the truth, man, because I don't want to hear the truth sometimes.
None of us do. None of us do. All right. I want to get this in before we get out of here. We got Big Sills is ready to roll at 3:00, Dan Cilio. So again, the luxury bus. You gotta get involved, man. We're getting close. We're a week away from the draft. The JAKIB Media Luxury Tour Bus to the Draft Extravaganza presented by our friends at Stateside Vodka. You're from the region. You want to get a seat on this thing to the Ocean Casino Resort for the JAKIB Media Extravaganza. Here's what you need to do. In the subject line, all right, just say Gunner invited me. That's all you need to do.
That's right.
There you go.
I'm not bringing ribs, though.
That's it.
No ribs.
Send it to Krause, Krausey at JAKIB Media, JAKIB Media.com. That's all you need to do. There's 36 seats, 12 from each show. We need to get on it. Refreshments, food, special prizes. 3 lucky winners will sit in the VIP section for the live show. This is all coming to you for the king of content, Joe Krause, JAKIB Media. He will contact everybody this weekend with all the details. All right, so tomorrow, James Palmer from the NFL Network will be joining us at 1:00 amongst many other guests and a lot of fun that we have in store for you. We'll keep rolling with the Sixers, with the draft stuff. We're trying to hit each position for you. We got a lot more in store, that's for sure. Barrett Brooks, great job, B. As always, man. Derek Gunn, always fun, D Gunn. Want to thank our producer, Xander Krause. Excellent job by Xander. We'll be back at it tomorrow at noon. Don't forget, tell your friends, Sports Take, JAKIB Media, YouTube Network.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
All right, did you know I was the mommy slam dunk champion?
Really?
Yes, really, don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, go to left, fake them out. Mama, go up,
She did it.
Again?
You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.